Thank you, everyone. We are in the Rules and Public Policy meeting on Monday, May the 12th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Miss Underwood is stuck at work, and she was unable to make it tonight, so I have quickly put together an agenda for us, and I handed it out to everyone. I did not get a chance to email it, so I apologize for that. Mad scrambling at the end. I apologize. But, so the one thing that I would, first of all, I didn't even get a chance to print out the minutes, so I apologize for that too. I'll make sure that they're on the next meeting.
Madam Chair,
Sir?
are you talking about the minutes from our last meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. The minutes from the April meeting.
Listen.
I'll make sure that the next meeting. So the one thing that kind of fell off our radar that I want to bring back around is the 8 recommendations that were made by the Planning Commission to council. So I want to talk about those and see if we want to do anything with them, to move forward with them or not. So I did print them out so everyone has a fresh copy. They are in front of you. Excuse me. The first recommendation is complete because that's regarding the, well, no, it's not. Actually, it's, daggone it, I meant to print that out too. So, there is a request from the Planning Commission for council to pass some sort of legislation saying that we are very interested in Hamilton, that service from Hamilton County that will rewrite our zonings, all of our zoning codes, and they'll do it for free.
Well, Madam Chair,
Sir?
I thought we already addressed that and said that we wanted to move in that direction.
Did we?
Yes, I recall addressing it and saying that we wanted to move in that direction. I thought that this was.
We didn't do any formal
Okay. All right.
legislation.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you're okay, if the committee's okay, I'd like to reach out to our law director and have him draw up a resolution that says council would be very eager to work with this Hamilton County zoning group to redo our codes. Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, or Mr. Chair.
Is it Ms. Zorba or is it Vic?
It's Madam Chair.
Oh, Madam
Yeah.
Chair, I'm sorry. They're both were talking. I cannot support that. The reason I don't is because I had a meeting with actually Mr. Dieters, Bill Knight, our new code enforcement officer. And I also checked on the things that you talked about with Hamilton County. Like, for example, I talked to, and I don't want to be oppositional all the time. That's not my purpose. But I do want to just say we have to move with what is in best interest of our city. And Hamilton County, although they will do this free service for us, they will look at what we have. They still have an undercurrent. Even when I was interviewing for the code enforcement, I had lots of different interviewees, and they came from different pockets of code enforcement across the county and the different municipalities. And one of the things that I asked them is, what do you think about the program for Hamilton County rewriting the code enforcement? And one applicant / interviewee had actually worked in that division. They do actually make your codes fit underneath their codes. And we want to have the freedom to being able to do that ourselves. We have a code enforcement officer now. We have a building inspector. We have a chief of police, chief of fire, where we have everyone on staff. And even if those of you who would like to participate on council, we could go through and create our own laws, zoning. I do not think that, I do agree that they need to be redone, but the channel in which we access redoing them is going to be important, especially, and I mean, you are on the side, Ms. Zorb, of not being in support of the group home. Those are things that you would want to consider, especially having the stance that you have. We want to identify and be able to maintain leverage and control in those spaces. I know for sure we would not have as much. Just because it's free doesn't mean it's the best thing for us. We can roll up our sleeves and put a little elbow work in it and get to a right place, which I personally think is a better way to go. So I just want to add that 2 cents in there as it pertains to that. I think we would end up with a very generic zoning codes if we went that route. And I don't know that that's what we have traditionally in our city done it ourselves and fared well. There are definitely some updates and things that we need to take care of. We can look at other models to kind of see, hey, we do want to adopt this, we don't want to adopt that. So that's just my perspective as it pertains to that.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Chichester?
She kind of took the words out of my question was going to be, can we look at doing it ourselves so that we could have control over it? My fear is that they'll make recommendations or changes that don't align with our city. So that's what I was going to ask you, if something of the sort of what's going to be changed and versus where we are now, so that we don't make changes that affect anything that's in motion right now. I see right here, it says the recommendation was create a temporary moratorium on any and all commencement of new and/or development until zoning code is reviewed and revised. I think I've made my stance clear that I am not in support of that right now. I think that in itself would hurt us all.
Can we stick with the first one and then we'll move on to the
Yeah.
moratorium?
But that is
Mr.
affected by the zoning, so I wanted to make sure.
Well,
that we
but, I
were-
mean, we've been talking about updating zoning code for
But if,
a billion years, and it doesn't get done. And I understand that, as Ms.
Well, I mean-
Bigstein wants to keep it within the city, and that's fine, as long as they're making that a priority.
right, so I feel
If
like,
they're not making a priority, then it's still not gonna get done, and it's still
We-
gonna just
I'm sorry,
roll around.
Madam
Madam
Chair.
President.
yes.
I just feel like I understand what has happened in past, and without understanding history, you can't understand why we are here where we are. New administration, new council, give the new administration the chance to effectively follow through. That's just my only ask, that with doing this, let's just, hey, let's put it in their lap, let's see what happens, and then if no, we can start making motions and chances to, give it to Hamilton County and see what happens. But let's try to fix our mess within our own home first before we go outside.
Mr. Wilson?
So, thank you, Madam Chair. Basically, the conversation was brought up as far as the zoning, updating the zoning codes and whatnot. Basically, because we know that some of our codes are outdated. It was the suggestion of reaching out to the Hamilton County program to, try and facilitate the, updating our codes. But if we're in the position to where our administration can, facilitate that themselves as far as addressing the codes and updating them, then I believe then that we should take that opportunity, because like I said, the only purpose of bringing the Hamilton County program up was because I don't believe we had the individuals in place to do it ourselves. So if we're now in position to do it ourselves, I think that that's what we should do.
Madam President,
Mr. Steen?
I think that we made that suggestion, or those that made that suggestion, because it is a tool, and it's a tool that we can leverage, that it's free. I would say this: there are a couple of things that we're tasked with doing. We have to rewrite or redo the civil service book, which has not been updated since 1987. We're working on that now. I will tell you that we are working on updating a lot of things that have kind of been in the past. We also have a full-time code enforcement officer, whereas we before only had a part-time code enforcement officer. So things are having to happen much faster because his reach is able to go further in the things that he's able to get done. So I think once we complete the civil service rewrite, and then that's the next task to getting it done, is the building and code. So
The
if
code
you
enforcement officer works on the civil service?
no, but the other components. So the fire department chief and the police chief work on the civil service stuff. So their attention and their extra time is devoted to that, whereas they would also help with the building and code. So what I was going to have him do, once he gets, that gives him leverage to get caught up with the backlog of things that were happening, because there had not been anybody in that position since July of 2024. And then once the two chiefs are done with their work with the civil service book, then we can for all of the various departments move towards the building. So I'm just kind of generally giving you a timeline and what things lie ahead of that. But I do feel that we
So
have.
when do you anticipate that you could start working on the the zoning code?
I would have no problem in this committee giving a monthly update. And then if we feel like it's just too much and it's not moving fast enough, I would propose that you all go forward with Hamilton County.
The thing is, though, if we don't, from what I understand, if we don't put something in writing for Hamilton County, they may not put us on, because there's plenty of cities that want this done, that are eager to have this done. And if we don't get on the list, then we're gonna get overlooked again.
Overlooked until when, may I ask?
I think I don't know, I'd be guessing.
Maybe we can do both, and maybe we can get on the waiting list and then move forward with our plans to do it ourselves. And if it doesn't work, I mean, I don't know. I think it would be worth finding out how far along does it put us out if we don't get on the waiting list now, and then we bring it back to a certain. I mean, we're right around the corner. We're in May. We're at the half point mark. We're only a month away from it. So it is a lot to get done in a year's time. I do believe that we can do it, but I don't want to take away our freedom to be able to have our hands intricately in the things that we've always done that as a city. And I know that sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but sometimes the heart and pulse of where we want the community to go, it should be based on the citizens that are here.
Okay, I'm not sure where you're going with that, but, so what I think I heard is we're gonna do both in tandem. So I'm going to go back to my original statement and ask Mr. Dieters to draw up a resolution.
I still don't think we should do a resolution. A resolution puts it in place. We should figure out what it means to get on the waiting list, how long that process is, and if we don't get on the waiting list at this time, what does passing us up look like? Does that put us into 2026, or does it mean we never get to access that as a tool?
All right, I'm gonna do all of the above. I'm gonna find out the answers to those questions and have Mr. Dieters draw up legislation, because sometimes it takes him a while to draw up legislation.
Madam
So we'll
Chair.
at least have it in our back pocket to pull out if we need it. How's that?
Madam
Yes,
Chair.
Mr. Wilson.
So, I mean, is it a need to draw it up? I mean, can we just go to Mr. Dieters and get this information first and then come back
Peters
with?
doesn't have that information, the planning commission does.
So, I mean, can we reach out and find out first? Let's investigate before we draw up a.
Yes, but then we're waiting another month, which is why I say let's do both at the
Is
same
it
time.
okay? So, but would that month hurt us?
Until
Madam
I hear those answers from the planning commission, I don't know.
Well, I mean, if the month don't hurt us, I don't see a problem with giving it to them. I mean, just give them enough time to figure it out first before we do draw up a resolution. Because, like they said, once we draw that resolution up, it will put it in place. So let's
It
not.
doesn't put it in place until there's 3 readings and a vote. So it's still,
Well, let's
it's
not-
still a month and a half out after it's written up,
Well, Madam Chair,
Mr. Wilson.
can we just give them the month, and that way we ensure ourselves that we took the proper channels with making sure that we addressed it first before going to Hamilton County, please.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Chichester.
I'm in alignment with Mr. Wilson as well. If we draw up the resolution, we're not giving them the chance. And I personally, when I work with Mr. Dieters, have had no problem with him drawing up any legislation or anything for me or getting back with me in a timely manner.
That's.
My
wonderful.
experience,
That's
I'm only
wonderful for
speaking
you.
on my experience.
Yep, that's awesome.
Okay.
All right, we're going to move on to number 2, which is create a temporary moratorium on any and all commencement of new construction and/or development until the zoning code is revised. I gotta say, I agree with this too, because we just passed the comprehensive plan, which kind of is that overall view. And now we want the zoning code to enforce whatever is in that comprehensive plan. I feel like this aligns right with that, so that we don't end up with, I don't know, 49 daycares, 65 bars. I don't know, throwing out
Madam
crazy
President,
numbers, but I'm just saying, I don't
Fair.
see a problem with this.
Madam President,
Chair.
Yes. Just 16.
okay. Can you read the moratorium that they're trying to pass?
It just says create a temporary moratorium on any and all commencement of new construction and/or development until the zoning code is reviewed and revised. And then they have the reasoning.
So can I speak?
Yes?
I'm in the middle. I think when we have new builds, so for example, we had Duncan come. We have new development that Frisch's is up for sale. They may tear it down, somebody else put something new there. I would want to allow development, especially economic development, to be able to go forward. I can understand some other areas where we would want to put, just kind of slow the process down until we can get the zoning redone. So maybe that statement, the moratorium with some modifications would be, you all have to consider that it's springtime, a lot of development, a lot of investors look for opportunities during this time. I know for sure there's some talk of one up here where the old nursing home used to be, up on the hill over here. So I just think that there's a lot of things that are pending. You have SORTA that would also, I've had a meeting with them. They are definitely going forward with the headquarters here, or the base here in North College Hill. So I just want you to keep that in mind. I mean, when you're freezing and putting that moratorium out there, you're also impeding or putting a block there for economic development, which is, I know, not the intent of that. but it would be if we put it in there just like that.
So I will reach out to the planning commission and ask them if they had an estimated timeline that they would recommend for this moratorium, and we'll see what that looks like.
Madam President,
Chair.
or Madam Chair, yeah, you go. Listen. It's been a long year.
It just started.
Yes, Ms. Chichester.
I think I've made my view on why I'm not in support of that. I think this does hurt a small business if they are planning to come redevelop and start in North College Hill. So can we look at removing that also as an option?
So I also like to point out, this is for new construction. So most most small businesses are just going to get into a building that's
Not
already existing, for the most part.
for the most part, but some.
It also would impact Habitat for Humanity.
Oh, yeah.
We have 2 that are going to be finishing up in May.
But they're already finished. That's not new construction
We have some more coming
Yeah,
in
they have
August.
more development.
in North College Hill.
Madam Chair.
So we can always use exceptions also.
That's why I said I don't have
So
any
we could
issue.
do this and then do it on a case-by-case basis and have exceptions. Yes, sir.
So, they wanted us to put this in for the purpose of slowing the development down or allowing the changes to happen on the zoning before the development. Like, I mean, what's really the
It's-
purpose?
The way I understand it, it is so that any new construction aligns with what they intend to put into the new zoning.
What?
So let's say, I know the topic of DORA came up. So let's say we want to go through with having a DORA out here on Goodman Avenue. You wouldn't want to allow a daycare center right in the middle of it, because that would stop the city's plans to put in a DORA. That's the kind of, so you want to make sure that the new zoning aligns with what we intend the future of North College Hill to look like,
Madam Chair.
so that everything aligns.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
You mentioned doing things on a case-by-case basis. Who makes the decision on each case?
The
Who would?
Board of Zoning Appeals would.
Okay.
So, Madam Chair,
Yes.
I was
Christine.
another example to kind of preface or understand how this would impact new builds. I know there was a proposal for I don't know how many, a bunch of them, tiny homes, and then the moratorium said, hey, no new builds under 1,500 square feet, in order to kind of create, sustainable homes, median priced homes in North College Hill, the traditional home that we know, 1,500 square feet. I honestly don't have an opinion about tiny homes or not, but I can tell you over in Madisonville, they have some luxury tiny homes and they've been a success. Is that for North College Hill? I don't know. I don't know that it would be fulfilled in that same way here. But when I just want you to seriously be careful and think it through, because what that does impact new builds is always economic development, always. I agree with Ms. Zorb that not a lot of small businesses build from the ground up. Some do. However, no matter how you're looking at this, new builds always has some direct line to economic development. So you have to kind of think about, with the comprehensive plan, where is it that we want to align as a city to encourage economic development, but economic development that's going to be healthy and sustainable for us. So I'm not again, even though I gave the tiny home example, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm in support of it, because tiny homes may not be sustainable here. Luxury tiny homes specifically may not be sustainable here, but it might be. I don't know. I'm just saying, when you think about new builds, it almost always correlates very strongly with economic development. So that's where that's the weight of that moratorium.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Wilson?
I got a question for Ms. Dukestein. Do we have a zoning map for North College Hill?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Is there some way you can email it to me, or?
Yep. I think can't think of her name, but she's on she actually just passed it out at the last BZA meeting. Carol and Johnston, Miss Johnston.
All right, we're going to move on to the next one. The recommendation is the creation of an annual vacant building license for any commercial and/or residential building that has been vacant for more than 4 months with no apparent or documented proof that a serious effort has been made by the owner to remedy the vacant status of the building. If the building is maintained as per required by the Property Maintenance Code and the ORC regulations, such properties, the license shall be of nominal cost. The cost of such license should be substantial and, at minimum, cover the cost of any additional staff and/or city employees if the focused property is not maintained and it becomes necessary that the city of NCH needs to take steps to maintain should the structure remain vacant. I don't know how I feel about that one.
Madam President,
Yeah.
Yeah, Ms. Dukestein?
I think it's a good, we already have it in place, to be honest. We just haven't been enforcing it because we haven't had the code enforcement officer. It's been a vacancy. So due to that vacancy, we haven't had the ability to look for those properties that are vacant over a certain amount of time. It's actually, we just checked it in our last meeting. It's in place already. I'm not sure what that is suggesting, but if you all decide to keep it, we will definitely be very eager about enforcing it, because now we have the staff in place to enforce it.
So I guess I'm confused. Do you already have this in place, or do you need us to put something in place?
We already have it in place. I'm not sure how that got on the topics for tonight, but I do know we already have that in place.
So you
Madam
don't need
Chair.
anything from council?
Not at this time, I do not believe.
So the new code enforcement officer will be enforcing this?
Yes, as long as you all are not in opposition of it.
If it's already in place, it wouldn't matter if we're in opposition.
I know, but if you're not, what I'm saying is if you're in opposition of it, then it would result in us changing it. Are you looking to change it? I'm not sure why that was on there.
Madam Chair.
Probably because it wasn't being enforced, so they probably didn't know it was in place.
Okay, fair enough.
That's speculation.
That's fair. It wasn't being enforced.
Yes, Mr. Wilson?
I was just gonna note that that these are recommendations. They sent out to us. I was trying to look for my previous copy, but these were just the recommendations that they will allow like us to take a look at and look to put these in. But I wanted to update you on the time so we can stay on schedule.
Madam Chair,
And we're not gonna be able to finish this.
No, we're not. Yes, Ms. Chichester?
in regards to this recommendation, can we make an amendment on here? My fear is it says our residential building that has been vacant more than 4 months. But if they're if their property is being maintained, they're cutting the grass, they're doing all of that, but say, for instance, if a neighbor passed away, but the family hasn't made any decisions on whether or not they're gonna sell, but they're maintaining the property and then it's vacant. Are we gonna make them pay a nominal fee?
I would, if something's already in place, I would ask Ms. Dixteen.
I
I mean,
think,
it's not like we have to amend this because we're not putting this in
Yeah,
place.
Okay.
and
it's our recommendation.
that's what I would say, that it is something already in place. And I would agree that if the encroachment is upon North College Hill to have to be actionable or dutiful with that vacant property, that's when we want to enforce fees or fines. But a family, I mean, honestly, we have so many of those, that very scenario that you gave, where there are families of residents who've passed away and they're maintaining the property and keeping it up, although vacant. They're paying the water. There are a couple of things that quantify a property for being a vacant property. No running water is one of them. So if the family is actually paying for running water and Duke, then it wouldn't actually quantify as a vacant property, which there would be no fee. They're keeping up the grass and stuff. So we don't want to come after those kinds of circumstances. We want to come after circumstances where the properties are blighted, run down, and nobody's doing anything, and they're vacant, and there's an owner out there somewhere just allowing it to deteriorate in our city.
Yeah, that's different than,
Yes.
yeah, then that should be. But if they're maintaining it, then I don't think we should.
So my answer to that is, I do believe that there's something in place. I will circle back because I know you're not finished with that, just to confirm. And then also, we are planning to move more diligently about enforcing that.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna put this aside and move down the, in our June meeting, we will start at number 4 on the document. I don't know why I still have NCH logo on there. Apologize for that. Old business, the only thing I had on old business was an email was sent to Mr. Graver on 5/5, and I'm still waiting to hear back from him regarding an answer to from Mr. Dieters. Is there any other old business that's not on here? Do we have any new business? Nope. I still had that on, that Ms. Chichester was gonna reach out to Mr. Dieters, and I think that was a non-issue because it was part of this letter and not part of the comprehensive. Is that right?
Yep.
So sorry,
Nope.
again, I was scrambling to put this agenda together, so I apologize. I left some stuff on there. All right, we are adjourning. 6:35.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the time is now 6:37 on May 12, 2025, and we will begin the Public Safety Committee meeting of the North College Hill City Council. Start out with the agenda, and we have any updates from the police department. Chief Cheney, anything for us?
So I've got a lot. I don't know what Miss Underwood sent to the rest of the committee, what I sent her.
I'm looking, not much.
Okay. So I sent her what we wanted to discuss for public safety. A couple things, two big things actually. The COPS grant just opened up. Our intention is we want council and the city's approval for me to go forward and apply for that grant, which will then add 3 additional officers to our staffing level, bringing us to 18. COPS grant covers 75% of each officer's salary and fringe benefits for 3 years, up to a max of $125,000. And then the 4th year, the city has to agree to keep those officers on for year 4 and pay their full salary and benefits. If you do not do that, then you have to reimburse the government on those funds.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chair, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Interim Chief Cheney, is there only 4th year, the only one that's guaranteed? Are there any?
4th year, we have to guarantee them the job. So it's basically like a 4-year grant that we have to guarantee year 4.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm sorry, one additional. Is there any level that the officers have to be, does it have to be a lieutenant? Does it have to be?
No, it could
all-
be any police officer. It could pay for a school resource officer. It could pay for,
levels.
yes, any level.
Thank you.
Yep. It just covers up to, the max per year is 125,000 that it'll cover
Per individual?
per individual.
Does it include overtime?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Dukestan.
I thought that the presentation in this public safety portion was about, I thought Chief Cheney was going to talk about how it was going to protect or do the public safety part of it. That is a financial question that entails so many more numbers. I would ask that we put that portion of it. I'm sure he does also have that too. I just wanted to make
Yes.
sure that he's focused on that. That part of the conversation has to happen in budget and finance, because there's so
She
many
has that
more.
as well.
Yep.
But I didn't put it on the agenda. We had so much other stuff. We were playing with the idea of doing this.
So I'll let him talk through the other portion of those things.
Okay.
So I sent her a basic layout of what the intention would be. Obviously, right now we have 18 officers. The additional 3 would enable us then to put each section with 4 officers, and we can change from a minimum of staffing from 2, because right now our minimum staffing requirement by contract is 2. We would be able to, and our policy and procedure manual, we would be able to up that to minimum staffing of 3 with 4 officers on each shift. But then it would also give us the ability to still have our NRO, our 2 detectives, and send somebody over to the Hamilton County Drug Unit, DART, which we desperately need to do. That agency is basically primarily being run by Springfield Township Police Department. I talked to the head of that because I sent him some information that some citizens had sent us and asked him to look at a residence in our town. And we kind of discussed that a little bit, and he said it's desperately needed that they have several cases in our town that they're working on. Now, the issue that comes with that is if we have an officer who is assigned to that unit and they work a case in our town and the unit makes a significant seizure of drugs or money, we get that back in forfeiture, and it becomes forfeiture property or money that we can use for the police department. If we don't have anybody assigned to that, then all that forfeiture stuff just goes to that unit, and we don't see any of that at all. So it's one reason why it's important for us to have somebody in that unit. Plus,
So-
over the last 5 years, all the homicides that we've had are all around the drug trade. I mean, every single one of them has involved drugs. So we've got to curb that as well.
Yeah, and so okay, so what I'd also ask, so of these additional officers, you're saying there'd be 1 on shift, and would these additional officers be able to be added to the neighborhood resource officer or community resource officer?
Also, we would already have that. You guys gave us that spot
okay
this year, so we'll have that. This will also enable me to structure the schedule in a way where we can also do 2 traffic cars, which it'll be 1 officer on each squad. So we have an A squad. It's a 12-hour shift that takes care of 1 whole day, and then they work 2 days or 3 days, and then we have B squad. So I would be able to put a traffic officer on A squad and a traffic officer on B squad, and their sole responsibility would be traffic enforcement. Not that our other guys won't still do that, but that would be their sole responsibility to respond to traffic crashes and enforce all our other traffic issues that we have: speeding, running of stop signs, running of red lights, to try to curb this problem that we have in town.
So, Ms. Dukes-Dean, so do we need to write legislation
We're not
declaring
at
our
that
intent, or
point
is already
yet.
done?
We're not at that point.
Okay.
We have to review the finances, which is the other portion of it. What we're here to talk about in this section is just safety,
Okay.
just to talk about how it will impact the city and the safety going forward. The other thing that I wanted to ask Chief Cheney is the contract. Is that the FOP contract that you're referring to? That's in our contract where we currently have 2, but now we.
Yeah, it's our policy and our contract that we have to have at least 2. We can't obviously leave an officer by themselves and have just one officer assigned to the city.
Is the FOP contract, is it scheduled to renew?
This year.
Yep.
It's more of a policy than contract, but contractually, if I left one officer here and everybody else went home, that would be an instant grievance from the FOP. So, because it'd be an officer safety issue, and obviously we would never do that, but just as giving you an example of what that would lead to.
But typically, just so you know why I'm asking him those questions, we have a renewal for the FOP contract, which will come before council. You all will have the opportunity to renew the contract again. Is the internal policies and the FOP go hand in hand. So and this is the financial end of it. I understand the safety end of it, and I'm not trying to negate that. However, what we are saying is we're adding additional incomes to our current salary. So I have to understand if that's our internal policy and we're aligning our FOP contract with that, we're obligating the city to the duration of that contract, not just the flock piece of it, which I just want you to understand it's not a support or not. It's just understanding all the factors and how it affects us on a large scale. So I can tell you from a safety perspective, I'm sure we can use more officers. So that's what I want to focus on today, just the safety perspective.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so my question is for Chief Cheney. With these additional officers, how would you do the recruitment? Because, I had a question for you the last time, public safety, as far as, your pool of recruitment. I believe we only have one officer on duty now that's originally from North College Hill.
I understand your concern there, but the day and time of us being able to have somebody that works for our department and lives in our city, that's a rarity. There's even laws now that even prohibit you from requiring that they have to live in our town.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
So I wouldn't stick it in as a requirement. I would just want to know police chief.
I would love to have people from our town.
Excuse me. Let me finish my question first, please. What I was trying to state, sir, is that even though it's a rarity or whatnot, are we looking in that direction? Are we trying to find those who have the experience in law enforcement that originates from this area?
Well, we put out an ad on gov.com for our opening. We had an ad on our Facebook. We put an ad on Indeed. We put it out on our MDCs, which goes countywide to every agency. And I know for a fact that there's probably 7 or 8 Cincinnati police officers that live in our town. Not one of them applied. We have to understand that we are a small agency that I am trying to grow to make us better, but we are also super busy, and it's not the fault of the city, but we are also middle of the pack salary-wise. So when you're as busy as we are and our pay scale is where it's at, it's hard to recruit. So a lot of times we're getting folks who are just starting out, or somebody who is at a little bit smaller agency like an Elmwood, or 2 of the guys we're looking at now that are coming from Owensville, which is in Claremont County, and it's a really small village. They only have like 3 or 4 full-time people, but they're like part-time officers there, and they work full-time hours. Right now, that's who we have to get. It's tough for everybody. Nobody can find police officers nowadays. The days when I was in the police academy, I applied here in North College Hill, and I took a test in this very room, and there was probably upward of 150 people taking a test. Those days are gone. My wife is the HR director for the city of Blue Ash. they are one of the top 5 agencies in the county. They get any training they want, all the nice equipment, their top 5 salaries. And I can tell you the last time they put on a job thing, they got 30 applications for the city of Blue Ash, when a place like that used to get 300 to 400 for one job. Nobody wants to do this job anymore. So would I love to answer your question? I would like it if we have 21 people, that 10 of them grew up in this town. That would be awesome. But unfortunately, those days are gone.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm not trying to cut you off, but I feel like you said it enough times.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
No, we're there. We hear you.
Okay.
We hear you. I mean, other than pulling somebody out of high school, I mean, what else are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So I guess my question, it's probably more financial, but maybe you can help me understand. Like, would we need to buy 3 new cars, 3 new cruisers? Would we need to outfit them? Like, what additional things would you need?
I think we would be okay at this point. Right now, we would be okay because we have 8, and we actually have a couple older ones that we were going to decommission, and we're kind of rethinking that. Maybe we actually set one up to see what the total cost would be to get it back functional for everything we need. If it makes sense, we'll do it, because we've been pretty good with that portion of our line item so far this year. I mean, you guys thankfully have helped us the last couple of years, and we've replaced a lot of the cars. We still haven't bought the other 2 that they're actually sitting on the lot. We're waiting, so we'll have 2 brand new ones coming shortly. We just kind of waited to get them because we couldn't get into the place that outfits them until mid-July. So there's no point in us putting them here on our lot and just having them sit here. So Jake Sweeney was like, well, we can keep them here, so no big deal. So I've already worked with Miss Dukestein. When the time's right, we'll go and get them, and then we'll get them outfitted. It just...
So I think what I heard is you don't know the answer to my question yet.
Not 100%, no, ma'am. I think it's a 50-50. I think we'd be okay, but if we have 8 marked cruisers right now. If we had 4 officers on, we'd have 4 cars on the road and 4 cars that would be sitting. And Lieutenant Engelbert does a really good job of maintaining the cars and looking at who's assigned to one. So usually a car is not on the road for 24 hours straight. It'll be on for 12, and then it's not on again until the next squad comes on. So
Car gets a break too.
yes,
All right.
yes.
That's all I need. Thank you.
Mr. President.
And that's,
Yes, ma'am.
quite honestly, that is the reason to build this more than public safety too. We have to realize in the 8 years I've been here, we've lost 32 police officers, either to retirement or to other agencies or for other reasons. That is a lot of police officers to constantly keep going through.
A lot of turnover.
Some of us know the reason why, and we've kind of fixed that, I think. But we also have to, April was the first time in probably 6 months that we actually didn't have a higher number of calls. We were pretty even for where 24 was at. So, I was thankful because we're down a lot of officers. We have 6 people that were actually in the background process right now. So if all 6 make it, we will be fully staffed, which is, I'm keeping my fingers crossed because we haven't been fully staffed probably in 5 years. Honestly, we've always been at least 1 or 2 short, and right now we're 5 short. So it's stressful, and it's stressful on our guys. It's stressful on you guys because if you look at the budget, our overtime right now is taking a beating. I have to make tough choices. Do I give these guys off, which creates overtime because we are short-staffed? Or do I deny their off time and now they're stuck here more and they're just constantly going to calls? And at some point, then that leads them to be burned out. And where are they going to go? They're going to go somewhere else that's not as busy.
All right. Ms. Dukestein, I'm sorry.
So, a couple questions and a comment to what we talked about in terms of recruitment so there are some things that we're doing to recruit better. And one is what I said earlier in the other meeting, and that is to redo the civil service requirements and to look at that. It hasn't been updated since 1987. And then I have some creative things that we can do, probably different than other agencies have done, just to kind of leverage recruits from different spaces. So all of those things are coming. But my question that I feel like is a bit more of a focus is, when does the grant have to be applied for?
It opened up on Thursday. I think the closing date for us to contract with Lexapol, and if we contract with them, they will do the entire grant, and they have like a 82% success rate. So, and it's only $4,500. To me, I have that in my budget. I could easily just have them do it, but obviously they need time. So I can get you the official date, but I believe from the email I read last week, it was June 5th
Okay.
from them.
So I think the biggest concern is it always valuable to add more people? Probably yes, because you have more people on spot doing their jobs. The bigger ask is, can we support this long term? And that is the bigger ask. And those numbers, we just haven't calculated yet. So from a safety perspective, I think it's an easy yes. From a sustainability, and I've said this to Cheney, Chief Cheney, my biggest issue, and this is a finance thing, this is not a safety thing, right? I don't know if you all know, but this is always my go-to example how Mount Healthy School District got in trouble is they had grant monies, and they implemented that grant monies and pulled that into their yearly budget. They employed people, and then when the grants were gone, they did not have the sustainability in their income to sustain those people, and that's what caused them to go upside down. So as we review this, we just have to make sure that we create a pathway forward that this is sustainable. And there are a couple of different ideas, but from a safety perspective, I think we couldn't go wrong. So my hope is to have more conversations about the financial aspect so that we can make a good decision about the safety aspect.
Mr. Chair.
The other, one more thing, I'm sorry. The other thing that I know that he's working very hard to do is to get fully staffed, because part of the huge pockets of things that we're seeing unfold in our community now is just the staffing issue. So some of those issues will naturally solve themselves, not completely. I'm not going to sell you a pipe dream, not completely, because he's right. We do need to grow. Is that growth is now? I don't know. But getting fully staffed will definitely curve some of the larger buckets of misses that we have out there.
Mr. Wilson?
So, I just wanted to state my hang up, because I'm definitely with the grants to add more officers with to our city. Just my hang up is Ms. Dustin keep mentioning safety, and I want you guys to understand that safety means for everybody, not just those individuals, certain individuals. Safety is for everyone. And with some of the things that's going on in our city now, as our neighboring city, well, let's say that to be example, it's important that we look at the steps that we're taking and bringing in these officers, because I want the community to go back to the way I'm used to it, and that is 110% respect for police. It was always taught to me that the police officers are who I go to when I'm having trouble. And I would like for our community to go back to that, to make sure that no one, black, brown, white, purple, green, no one is questioning picking up the phone and contacting law enforcement for the legal assistance that they need, because that's the purpose of law enforcement being here.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to point out that it's 6:59 and we have a
Okay.
couple other things on the agenda.
Just to
Mr.
quick answer that point, I could tell you in the 8 years that I've been here, I think we are there for our city. I think we're at that point where we're the city support and our support. When there was stuff going on in 2020 across the nation, we didn't have that in our town. Our people are phenomenal. When it was not backing the blue and defund the police and do this, our community was not like that. We would go into UDF, we would go into Walmart, we'd go into Kroger's, and it didn't matter what race, what creed, what age you were. It was, officer, be safe. Hey, we support you. We do. I tell people all the time, that's one of the reasons why I stayed here, is because how the community supports us. Even when we all mess up. Even when we've had not the greatest things on, the community as a whole has always supported us. So I'm with you. That's my strive every day, to make sure we keep that partnership.
Okay.
So when I go into Kroger's, it's, hey, chief, thank you for what you do. Be safe. Tell your guys to be safe. So
Mr. President.
All righty, yes, ma'am.
Just one real quick comment. And so in our last one-on-one, one of the things that we talked about is, you know, making sure that our police officers understand the type of policing and the police module that we want to apply here in North College Hill, where, you know, you could say it could be color, creed, but it's also gender, just making sure everybody feels safe picking up the phone and reaching out to the police and making their concern, and we respond to it appropriately. We're doing some sensing of more recent calls, how the community has felt. I'm using some tools that are coming into my office. Sometimes they're complaints, sometimes they're compliments. We're sitting down and talking through those things and talking about how that can translate over into the direction of our police department. Chief Cheney can tell you that one of the things that I asked him in our last one-on-one is, what are the goals? Where are we going with the goals in terms of the policing and the community at large? Not just making it better for the police officers, which we do want to do, but we also need to make the community better and look more like what the hope is forward.
Okay.
So.
And we'll close on that for this month. Now, there are further conversations that need to be had in regards to block watch, neighborhood watch, and also just a reminder, within the next couple of weeks, school is going to be out. Just want us to remind everybody that our teenage neighbors, they're our neighbors. They're a part of a community. They deserve the same respect, the same understanding, the same professionalism as everyone else. That's the main thing. We want to get through this smoothly. Yes, ma'am.
I was gonna, you mentioned block watched. I had an email from a resident today asking me about that, where we were. So I wanted to give that update in there, and why it hasn't been moved to your committee as of yet. Public safety is because we're waiting. There has to be training, and we're waiting for the SRO.
NRO.
officer? NRO.
Yeah,
So there has to be a training done with this, so that the people who are on that watch knows how to be safe, how to protect ourselves, when to engage, when not to engage. They're not replacing law enforcement, so we want everyone in the community to be safe. So we're waiting to iron out those extra details. So I just wanted to address that in your committee, is why we haven't put it in committee yet. We haven't ironed out any details of yet, and we're waiting to get someone hired, get them trained before we move forward. So it'll be a little time. It's not going to happen overnight. So we wanted it to happen before summer, but it's not looking likely right now. So, and then there are grants and things we're looking into to fund that program as well. So.
Mr. President, and I just want to,
Next, Mr. Chair. So I have something for new business, if I can just sneak it in real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, Nelby.
So there is something that City of Cincinnati they're starting a new program, and it is for residents that you can register if you have your security cameras, so that when an incident happens, the police can look at a database to say, there's 5 residents
Yes.
in this area that have cameras, and then the police go knock on their door and say, hey, can we look at it's not like the police have ready access to your cameras, but the police would at least know where they can go to get camera footage in the event they need it. So I'd like to know if we can start something like that in North College Hill.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
I was going to ask that we already had, because there's been a couple of times things have happened and they've knocked on my door for my footage before. So do we already have something of that nature, or do they just know me and knock on my door?
So part of it, anytime there's a serious crime, that's part of your investigation, is to canvass all the neighbors around there. And obviously that's one of the first things we do, is look for any cameras on any residents and just go straight to there first and try to get footage. So,
Okay.
so if you have
we can
cameras showing, we're going to knock on your door if something happens.
Maybe that's
All right,
what
so
it was.
we can look into that now. I'll figure that out, and I'll have a better answer for you hopefully by next week's
Thank
council
you so
meeting.
much.
Okay.
Thank you.
We had done something similar in the past. I mean, I think it was more to, you remember when we had the Ring of Steel cameras all around the city too. You don't remember that?
Ring of Steel.
Yeah. So it was called the Ring of Steel, but there was cameras like in the parks. There was cameras at the gun shop and some other areas. The community, what's the business group called? Chamber of Commerce, I think, supplied most of that stuff. So
Mr. President.
Yes, sir, Mr. Easton.
You gotta go to the
Hey.
mic.
I'm
TV
sorry.
Land King.
You got to be able to hear you. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Do I
Yeah.
need
Yeah,
the
name,
name,
address.
Clarence Easterling, 1619 West Belmore. My first comment is that these committee meetings are way too short for all the issues you all have to deal
Yes.
with.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Noise complaints that I've dealt with, I couldn't get a police response because they had priority calls. So what I was calling out was a nuisance, and they had real issues. They told me eventually that they had to arrest 10 people on one of the nights that I called, which took all available officers. So I understand that. But what I'm proposing is there some way that we can send out a notice to the offenders of noise complaints? I didn't know that.
Not code enforcement.
Yeah, I didn't know if it could be done legally, or if there's money to send out these notices. I
Yeah,
just
so
wanted
with
to start the.
if we start going to a business or a residence on a frequent basis, we can issue a nuisance property warning to them, and they have to stop whatever's creating the nuisance. And if they don't, after that, then we can start charging them.
So do I now?
Mr. President.
Yes, ma'am.
Would I have to come to the police department to start that process on certain individuals?
Yeah, come and see me.
Okay, yeah.
We'll
please,
talk
yeah,
about it and we'll
please-
fix
please
it.
help them out. We can get that.
Okay,
I was going to ask, is this a resident or a business?
resident.
Okay.
Okay. Alrighty, sorry. So, public safety closed about 4 minutes ago at 7:04 p.m.
Mr. President, you called on me a couple times, but then you let other
Chair.
people go ahead of me.
Sorry, y'all.
Mr. Chair.
Everybody doing it.
And so the other things that you didn't address, but I think are important to say in this meeting, is that we did receive a quote in the tune of like $276,000 for the generator, which is better than we thought. The police and fire have been working together. That yields us all of the modifications that need to be done to the both sections of the building in order to have two separate generators, one for police and one for fire. That's something that's been in this committee and ongoing and rolling on. The other thing is, in the spirit of public safety, there will be CPR classes that will be offered to citizens at this building for free. And so we're looking for dates coming up soon, and then residents will be able to register and get CPR certified.
Thank you, sir.
You go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna move forward with today, and now there will be recreation community, city development will start.
Mr. Chair.
Just give me a second. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move forward. I want to give you the rules of the committee. I will ask that all questions be held to the end. Let us take this time so we can get through my agenda. And we're going to start off with an update about the welcome letter and baskets.
Okay, so we've been working diligently on trying to put something together for our new residents that come in, buy houses and all that fun, exciting things. So there is a list of items that we would like to see in our baskets. So for example, local information and essentials, a free city map with a list of recommendations like restaurants, cafes, and parks. In addition to contact information, there was an idea of having a magnet with all of the important people's phone numbers on it so that you could put on your refrigerator. And if you needed to call police and you don't want the emergency number, that would be on there, and all of that good stuff. Also, we would put RETA on there so that people are aware that we pay taxes to RETA and how to contact them. So those are just really important things that we would like to have on there. Another free item that we could put in our baskets would be things like menus from nearby takeout spots, and then some cute little snacks and treats to not exceed $25. So from a local bakery here in our city, coffees or teas. And then we would put like cleaning supplies in there, because when you move into a new home, you want to make sure it's nice and clean. So things like laundry and soap products, things like that. And if there's a family that has kids, some bubbles, coloring things, anything that's fun, that's family oriented. And the committee would like to see it not to exceed the cost of $75 per home. And yeah, that's what we would like to do. And there is a letter that has been drafted to put into the basket so that they know who the basket is coming from, and things like that. Another important thing that we would like to put in the basket would be like flyers for upcoming events. So for example, if someone moved in this month, we would let them know that, hey, there's party in the park that's going to be on XYZ date. We have Juneteenth that's coming up. This is how you get in contact, or this is where it's going to be located, so that they could come out and meet and feel a part of the community. And so that's all I have for that.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, go ahead, Ms. Zort.
did you need any help organizing? I will help if you, I don't know what you need or what you've already done. If
Whoever
you need
would
help.
like, Ms. Chichester and Ms. Alexander, we are trying to get all hands on deck so that they can be nice and pretty.
Mr. President.
Chair, but I'll
I'm
take
sorry,
it. It's okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go
I
ahead,
always
Ms.
struggle with that, Mr.
Go ahead,
Chair.
Ms. Dukes.
Sorry. Ms. Gaston, I just want to make sure that I've captured everything that you said, because I know eventually this will, and this week, she and I talked about this on the phone, will be passed over to our rec person. So I have letter, flyers for upcoming events, and I wrote on there newsletter, most recent newsletter, cleaning supplies, menus for different locations within our city, contact information, maybe a magnet, a city map, RETA, and then I missed whatever else you said.
So just like little snacky things, but what I will do is this that I have written up, I will email it to you
Okay.
as well.
And then I would say, honestly, $75 is expensive if you're, because I don't know if are you only going to do homeowners, or are you going to do?
Homeowners.
Homeowners.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then that changes things. But I would say that like Procter & Gamble, and I know you have a contact there, they love to do sponsor things like this. and if not, I have a contact that I can pass to you to kind of get some donations. They even have like an internal store that they'll allocate to the community to go get bucks from. We can get things like Tide or whatever, but it comes with their branding.
Yeah,
So
that's cool.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I got a question real quick.
Sure.
So, Ms. Dukestein and Ms. Gaskins, inside this welcome letter, are we planning on sending them a list of all their elected officials and fire chief?
Absolutely.
I'm just saying. Like
That would be in the letter.
I mean, I'm just saying it would be the smartest thing to do, since a lot of people that move here don't know that North College Hill is a city of its own.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking the mayor all the way down. Go ahead, Ms. Tychester.
I was just going to state that her and I spoke, and it would be everything NCH. I didn't hear you mention trash. Well, no,
Oh,
that
yes,
was on our
I
list.
skipped the trash and recycling days.
Everything NCH that you need to know about the school, the city, welcoming to the neighborhood. So
perfect. I think the trash and recycling is super important. You cannot know how many calls I get. How do I register to get trash? My trash cans picked up. Well, you got to call Waterworks, and you have to do this. So, yes, please and thank you.
Okay. So, Ms. Zorb, was that all the questions that you have? All right. Ms. Gaskins, I know it's your presentation, but do you have any questions for yourself?
Self? I'm just kidding. No, I don't have any questions.
Take it. Ms. Tychester, any questions?
no, I'm all good.
Ms. Alexander?
No, I've been on the phone with Miss Gaston. So we asked questions about stuff. Yeah, so no, I'm good.
All right. Well, I don't have any additional questions. Mr. Davis, do you have any questions?
Just one. Miss Alexander, were you able to get because we've written a welcome letter in the past, but Miss Bruner had it. Have you been able to get to her, see if she still got it?
I can do that.
Okay.
Are there any questions from our city administration? All right, so we're gonna move on to item number 2, will be the yard signs. And I believe that will be Ms. Gaskins with another update.
Yes, so we're getting started this weekend, working on canvassing and seeing the houses and taking pictures and voting. What I would like to, this is probably going to fall on your committee, sorry. I had 4 quotes, and I am ready to proceed with printing the yard signs. So I'm just letting you guys know so that we can move forward with payment from our finance director, hopefully.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Ms. Dukestein.
So I guess my question is, did you guys foresee this coming out of recreation budget? Because it wasn't budgeted for, so I don't know how to, where do you see it coming in? It just depends on the cost. And I know that's probably a budget question, but
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
I don't know how, but I was under the impression that it was coming out of council budget.
you can do that too. I'd be happy to have that happen.
I know you would. But that was, I don't know where that came from. I think it was mentioned a while ago or something. So that's what I was thinking. It was coming out of our council budget.
So you might want to talk about where it's going to come from as
Yes.
a tidbit. And then the only other thing I have is, are you all choosing to do 1 per city per month, 1 per quadrant?
Ooh.
It's 1 per quadrant per season. So 4 seasons, spring, summer, winter, fall, or fall, winter.
Nice. Very nice.
Mr. Chair.
I was just going to start that. Let me go ahead and start my questioning. So I won't start with Ms. Zorb on topic number 2. Any questions?
Well, actually, I want to back up to topic number 1, and, because we didn't talk about where that $75 is coming from.
Okay, so
What budget is that
So,
coming from?
so if you have any additional questions for number 1, if you could just write them down and submit it, and then we'll get them answered. Other than that, I want to try and stay on the time frame because we need to stay on the schedule. So if we could stay on number 2, any questions for that?
No.
Okay. So Ms. Gaskins, any questions for yourself?
I do not have a question, but I would like to answer Ms. Zorb's question
For number 2?
for number 1. 'Cause
No,
we
like
mentioned
I
it
said,
already.
that's cool. When she submitted, you can answer it. I don't have a problem with it. So
Okay.
just when she submitted, answer it. But other than that, we just want to stay on schedule, please. Ms. Tykechester, any questions? Ms. Alexander, any questions?
No.
I don't have any questions neither. Mr. Davis, any questions? Okay. So like I said, just due to time constraint, city administration, is there any questions for number 2?
No.
Okay, so we're gonna move on. So number 3 is the bike trail grant, and that will be Mr. Davis. Go ahead, you got the floor.
Okay. So now, OKI, it's a transportation or a traffic calming grant, and that is due on June 6th. And also, I've got a question for Ms. Dukes Dean. You're aware of the Metro Transit Infrastructure Fund, correct? Now, those funds last year were used on something in regards to the police and fire station. Have we already applied for something using that grant or not? Okay. Okay.
I didn't hear the answer.
I'm sorry, no.
Okay. Okay. So I'm interested in trying to design a bike trail, scooter trail, walking trail that goes along our streets, and also it would also involve signage at each of our introductory points. So introductory point would be, for example, Simpson, Simpson at the border, Galbert at the border, Hamilton at the border, and I'm developing this, and as a result, I want to apply for the OKI grant that's due June 6, 2025, and a Metro Transit Infrastructure grant that's due on May 30th. And unfortunately, I don't think the court will get from here, but I'm going to email y'all exactly what this trail looks like, so we can edit, change anything that y'all would like to do with this. I apologize. This looked a lot better, cleaner, and more professional in my head than it actually sounds now. But I'll absolutely explain it when I got more time to do such. I apologize.
Mr. President or Chair. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Ms. Dukestein.
Mr. Davis,
Yes, ma'am.
for the city to apply for grants, Ms. Stevens Knott and I will work together to just make the applications happen to the best of our ability by those time deadlines. You can just forward them over.
Okay.
If we have any dissent in not applying, or there's something that disqualifies us, it would be just an email response. I don't have any problems applying for either of those.
Okay. All right, then. All right. It'll be done.
Is that all you have, Mr. Davis?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Zorb, I'm gonna start with you. Do you have any questions about this grant?
Does Mr. Davis need anything from council for that to happen?
I'm not at this point, but I'll absolutely ask as I go forward.
Thank you, sir.
Is that all your questions, Ms. Zorb?
It is.
Ms. Gaskins, any questions?
No, sir.
All right, Ms. Tykechester, any questions?
Nope.
Ms. Alexander?
Mr. Davis?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know what the dollar amounts for those grants are?
I have it, but it's going to take way more scrolling than we got time left to do in this meeting. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Mr. Davis,
Yes, ma'am.
I would say that that's probably my biggest, if there is ever a dissent. So sometimes we apply for grants, and they are wonderful grants that fund our community with wonderful things. But then it's also, do we have sometimes they require a
Right,
match.
they require a matching fund.
Or do they
That-
require us
yes.
to put it up front?
And I can say-
And so those are usually the things that
Yes.
create deterrence, or either the level of sustainability, like once we get it there, how do we maintain it? And
Yes,
so
I
it's-
can say that the Metro grant does not have a percentage match. I'd have to look back in the OKI one to be sure. I'll be sure. I'll know that, and I'll have it sent when I forward that to y'all.
And I just wanted to verify those dates. The Metro Transient Grant is due May 30th.
Yes, ma'am.
And the OKI is due June 6th.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's it.
I don't have any questions. Mr. Davis, you got any questions for yourself?
No, we good.
All right, so we're gonna move on with that. Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. Hold on. Administration, any questions?
No.
All right, so we're gonna move on. We'll move to number 4, Juneteenth fireworks show 2025. That will be Ms. Teichester.
Let me give you my update version. I met with Ms. Heath, and her and I were talking about the resource fair portion of that. So I only have that update. I missed last Tuesday's meeting, so Ms. Gastons will give you that update. And I tried to get the link and it wouldn't work, so you're gonna have to resend it to me.
Yeah, we can get to that.
Yes. So I just wanted to mention that. So with the with the resource fair, I gave you guys the update of all the vendors. This is like expanding a little bit more than which is a good thing. Chase Bank, JP Morgan and Chase are great partners. They're actually looking to help support us with the fireworks. So I haven't received confirmation of that, but they are working on more funding to help with that as well. Her and I met today, and we had great talk about that and about the presentation they're going to do. They're going to do a presentation on helping seniors recognize scams. Is that what it's
Fraud.
called?
Yep.
Yes, fraud. So we have tons of things coming down the pipeline with this resource fair. The community has spoken, and they have said what they wanted from this fair, and I'm happy to be a part of that portion of that and working with different communities. I've made my stops last week into the businesses that we sent letters to. Some of the businesses had not received the letters and didn't know what I was talking about. So making that connection with them one-to-one and letting them know they were excited to hear that, and they were happy that we approached. So I'm just waiting for actually getting those letters back with signed commitments from a few businesses that we should have more funding coming in for that as well. And then she can give the update from the meeting I missed.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, go ahead.
So actually, I was not able to click on either, so I missed it, but I will,
I'm sorry.
that makes sense why it wasn't working.
It was canceled?
It was
I wasn't
canceled.
able to click on either because I tried to
So
join.
I thought it was just me because I was on a protected Wi-Fi, so I didn't think that. So let's make a plan to reschedule that ASAP. Is there one?
We were all on that, excuse me, but we were all on that meeting, and she said it was canceled because Donna Bruner was having her event. Donna Bruner's event got rescheduled, so ours is again on the 20th.
Got
Okay.
it. Okay.
So, the 20th, is that next week?
That is. And Annalise is running the Juneteenth event, so.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Let's go ahead.
I just wanted to, for the Juneteenth portion, I was working with Mr. Davis on an idea about connecting with a radio station to broadcast the Juneteenth festivities, just so that we can have more eyes on North College Hill. And I wanted to make sure I explained that to everybody who's been on board with everything.
Mr. Chair. I
Go
started
ahead,
it, I
man.
can't
Listen.
stop.
It's okay.
I think I spoke with Mr. Davis about this before we do anything that's coming out of our pocket. The 513 Relief has advertising funding, and so does JP Morgan and Chase. So that's why I asked him to hold on anything council-related funding for that, because if they already have advertisement built into their budgets, let's utilize that first before we do that.
Was that all, Ms. Gaskin? Is your report? All right. So, as I always
Mr. Chair.
as I always do, I'm about to do the question
Okay, I'll let you go
segment
around.
now. So, in the time, Ms. Zorb, go ahead, please. Any questions?
I don't even know where to start with the radio commercial. I think that's a fantastic idea, but I guess I don't like, whose voice, like, we would use the radio voice, the
Mine.
radio? Just like a, you know what I mean? I don't,
I got you. I got you when the cue comes down.
right.
I got you.
thank you. You had that puzzled look on your face when things were being talked, so I figured you had more. That's, I think that's a fantastic idea to get the word out, but,
Sure.
sorry. Go ahead.
Is
That's
that
I
all?
have. Yes, sir.
Ms. Gaskins?
I would like to know a little bit more about the sheet that was passed out. I see that there is a bronze package for a 15-minute display for about $8,000. That's exciting. Can we talk about that a little bit?
I think, so what we're gonna do is, let me get through these questions first, as far as, where was we are on Juneteenth, so, I mean, I think that, is this explanation gonna take forever? Because we on the time constraint, people.
I can wait till my time. ahead.
Okay, so, Ms. Chichester, any questions?
No questions, just that this is the invoice that I forwarded over to JP Morgan and Chase as well. And the radio at Hamilton County and JP Morgan and Chase already do advertisements on the radio. So I was hoping they would add that when they do their June updates for our city's update festival. So I'm just waiting to get things finalized before we fill out their marketing request form.
Ms. Alexander, any questions?
I just needed clarification. What was the date, May 20th, for? What got scheduled for May 20th?
Juneteenth.
The Juneteenth volunteer group has meetings on Tuesdays.
And what time?
It's like 3:30. I'm sorry, 3:30.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
All right. I don't have any questions. Mr. Davis, any questions? No, I didn't. She
No, I just did the,
yeah.
that was it. I just needed clarification for that thing. Thank you, though.
I about to say, I ain't trying to get punched in the eye. Mr. Davis.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So just to clarify, got an email came from Radio One, and they put together They put together 3 different packages. One of them is $505. One would be $1,010, and one would be a $1,500. I understand. I'm aware that we're starting to talk about serious money here. But if we're investing serious money into the fireworks show and serious money into getting people to come in, it might be worth it to put that money into that promotion, just to make sure that we get the eyeballs, that we get the foot traffic, that we get the viewership that we're looking for. And I'll forward this email, which also includes a default commercial into it to whoever would want it, who'd ever be interested. But that was my initial thought process behind that.
Would that be all for you, Mr. Davis?
Yes, sir.
All right, administration.
Yes, I do have quite a bit. So, on the 5:20 meeting for, do you all mind forwarding that to me so that I'd like to join. I kind of been pulled in by force. So I also was on the line with Ms. Chichester, but before she was on the meeting, I met with Ms. Heath and talked to I can't remember her last name, but her first name is Stephanie from Chase Bank, and they're in 2 different divisions. And so I wanted to provide some clarity to council, which will kind of help Mr. Davis with some of his inquiry and costs with the radio stuff. So there are 2 avenues. One is the 513 that Ms. Chichester is working on that will yield us lots of advertisement because they kind of do their own branding and bidding out to get people out. They don't want to come to a community and it's useless. They don't rely on the community alone to do those advertisements for them. The same thing with Chase. So with that, they are offering, hey, we may not be able to give you X amount of dollars, but we will give you advertising that looks like this, TV ads, radio. They have got that covered for us. We do not need to use those resources this year. So we will allow them to do that for us. And I think their reach and their dollars and their advertisement and their branding is going to be a lot further than what we can do. What we need to do as a community is to help get the word out to our seniors, to get the demographic of people that they want to reach at that particular programming. And so one of the things that they are very passionate about, that they see more than we do as everyday people, is the type, the targets of seniors and the fraud. You know, they're using their cell phones, text messages come through, you owe a toll, and you need to pay this toll by this time, and then their whole accounts are wiped out. It is not small scale, like $25 that may or may happen to you or I. These are people who are getting whole life savings depleted. And so if we could really get, and it may not even be solely for our demographic, but that's part of getting foot traffic and branding in our community, to make sure that we are, word of mouth is a really, really big way to get things out there if we want to help. Get your parents, grandparents, friends of parents out there to kind of communicate tips and tools. I want to personally just kind of encourage this, mainly because I have a college student who was taken advantage of in a very similar way. And I gave her, this is what you need to do. This way, had she followed all of my no's, in terms of, she would not have gotten taken advantage of. She missed one step. And even though seniors are the target here, so many people can benefit from the tools. Like, it's just even paying attention to the email address and making sure it is from a reputable source and that has certain indicators and things to look for. With seniors, they take special care because sometimes they can't remember their passwords to their phones, you know, and I can't either though, but I am saying that this is a valuable tool for the community, but the target market is seniors because they seem to be taken advantage of at record-breaking numbers, and the amount of money that they're getting from seniors is crazy, right? They got a little bit of money from my daughter. They got a lot of money from seniors. So I just want to kind of put that out there, but that satiates or solves what he's talking about in terms of advertisement. And then I passed out some papers, and I know you guys don't have them, so you can have these if you want them. You can give that to Ms. Kirton.
I feel it.
There you go. It's 2 of them. So one of the things that we have said so it's turned into a two-day event. Yep. And so I personally am not like taking over or working on this at all. These are kind of things that are just falling in my lap. So because of that same sponsorship with JB Morgan Chase, they are looking into funding. If you all know, initially we were talking back and forth with Fifth Third through a connection through Mr. Wilson. They were 100% behind our funding. Their representative got sick, and somebody represented outside of the city of North College Hill, outside of this branch, on our behalf, and they didn't have the same passion for the project as that person did. And then they decided to partner with us with some things that are to come, but that particular thing. So we thought that this was solved, and then it wasn't. So now it looks like there's an opportunity to solve it with some funding sources through JB Morgan Chase. So initially we said, hey, if we can get these events off the ground and get them well advertised, which now we have that advertisement component as well, and then we have a broader reach when we have seniors and a day resource circumstance on the Friday, and then also the Saturday events. now we have this opportunity to kind of do this short teaser of a fireworks show. I like the way, I think Ms. Gaston said this, or maybe Ms. Alexander, somebody said it, but it's kind of like a 15 minutes after a ball game or after Kings Island. It doesn't have to be. We can grow. You guys, I know that the original idea was like way up here, but we can grow to that. We are starting, we want to, one of the things I know to make events successful, you can't start up here at first. When you see events at like spaces like Blue Ash, they have worked years to evolve that event to what it is today. We are at the beginning stages of events for NCH and making them our own. We should be super proud of particularly this Juneteenth event because it's taken off and it is growing, right? And so this is our first multi-day event. And so we have to kind of push where the engine is behind what things are come through our community. And so with that, I think a 15-minute show would not be bad. What I have provided you, and I did initial it, but that I didn't sign anything. I only initialed it because Ms. Chichester was sending it over to the bank, and I wanted to let them know, hey, this is something that I'm okay with. If this is the level, I wanted to just select the level of show. And so the 15-minute bronze package offers us 15 minutes of fireworks, kind of like that, after a good day of resources and things that kind of dwell over into the afternoon. People come back out, and then they come back the next day for the rest of the events. So if we are to secure funding, which this has been sent over to JB Morgan Chase for support, this is what we would be looking at a first-year initiative. The other thing that I wanted to put on council's heart and minds is none of this stuff is in the budget. The marketing that he's talking about is not in the budget. So if you are going to, you can't. So if you just think about this on a whole perspective in these recreational spaces, I think this is wonderful ideas, but you have to also keep in mind, where is it going to come from? Stop looking at your watch. Where is this going to come from? Because we are kind of coming up with lots of great ideas, but that's why I defaulted back to the P&G for the $75 basket when Ms. Zorb asked about, hey, where's this money going to come from? Because as much as we can leverage community sponsorships, we should in whichever way they come, because we don't have the budget to fund all of those kinds of things. And I know we're always dealing with it from a sparsity perspective, like we don't have it, so we have to ask people for it. But what I will say is that even with communities that have it, they're still asking for sponsorship. P&G wants to get on the face of things like that. So don't be afraid to ask. I just don't know that council is the exact group that can ask, which I would ask that council connect with the Recreation Commission. I have put the job description out for the recreation director, and we should be having someone whose scope for this work is there. But I just wanted to kind of say all of those things because this is the committee that it belongs in. Okay.
All right, thank you, Ms. Dukestein. So with that being said, any old business?
Mr. Chair.
I heard Ms. Chichester first.
Well, I was going to say, in the event of time, how about we officially adjourn and then start budget and finance, and then I'll yield.
Nah, we won't be able to do that. Any old business. I apologize, but we can't do that. So any old business?
No.
No. No old business. Any new business? All right. So then, Recreation and Community Development is adjourned at 7:46.
Start budget and finance. We have a full agenda. I sent out the agenda, and the documents. Ms. Dukestein, did we get the documents printed?
Yeah, I have.
I can come pass them out if you want.
This Miss
Stevens not
Stevens Knott is going to put her computer on
the
presentation.
screen. Yes. Did I say it correctly, Ms. Stevens not? I know it sounds like snot. That's because I have a little cold, you guys. Bear with me.
My grandbaby says snot.
It's not. Steven's not.
Steven's not.
Steven not. Yes.
I am. I had that one in my hand.
So while she's hooking up to the monitor, I'll pass out the documents.
Which one? Oh, I'm not sure if we're gonna get to that.
They had to give him somebody.
No, I don't know if we're gonna get to it because it's not on the agenda.
They had to give him
I
somebody.
haven't provided public copies until we actually, yeah.
It's right here.
We will get to that. That's on the agenda.
Might not matter in a minute.
No, it's
Well,
not.
y'all look for that while
We don't.
she might have to get hers anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, but I won't call you until I have an issue. And then
See me before, it's fine.
I'll have all the facts and figures.
I didn't print the agenda.
I'll print it.
Didn't have my.
You don't need to print the agenda.
No, unless you want to stay in new business and address it. Yes. I don't have it printed. I sent that electronically. Are you able to print?
And then this remote right here.
Okay.
I believe so.
You don't have to print
You
it.
don't have to.
Yes. We just neglected this. We're gonna make it.
Thank you. Thank you. If you, listen, you go ahead and start the meeting. I will print it and send it.
Miss Stevens, are you need any help? Oh, did I pass that down that way?
I'm trying to figure out what I'm taking.
Hey,
One of each.
But the last one is not, the last one's two different pages.
Oh, hold on.
Look at that.
Let me hand it here.
So we actually do have two guys who work for us.
Oh, you got mixed from this one. This is different.
Everybody don't feel like you. You know what I'm saying? Like you got here and you love the community.
As soon as I can.
You don't live here. You
But is that the same as that?
Yes, that's the same.
Okay.
It just got moved to the back for whatever reason.
don't like that. Like, well, you know, like you're
It's gonna be that way forever, brother.
We gotta change that. Man.
Are we in the meeting?
We gotta change
So,
that.
yes,
Mr. Wilson?
Mr. Wilson, we are in a meeting. I'm giving you guys the documents that Miss Stevens Knott is going to put on the,
So what I'm presenting is a summary of those documents. You have the details in there, and the presentation is a very high level, a prettier level presentation.
did anybody in the audience need one? I know it says on the agenda, we're gonna do the fire levy update. Ms. Dukestein has that verbal update when she come back, but in the spirit of time, she's gonna go with the budget.
Alrighty. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for allowing me to present this evening. You are looking at the March 2025 Budget and Finance information. Move. You have details in your packet. This is, again, a very high-level presentation of our information. You will see that we have, on this first slide, is our book balance, and in our bank balance, you'll see that number $7,742,162.27 is the ending balance of the general fund. And then you'll see the transactions that are needed in order to get our book to look like our bank. The reason that there are always differences is timing, and people hold on to checks. So there will always be a variance in between what's in the bank and what's on the books. But our job is to bring them together and to show you why there's a difference. Next slide. This is something that's not included in your packet. And again, these are just high levels. Act right, computer. Sorry. Financial snapshot tells you about the ending book balance, the adjustments, the things that had to be made in order to get ourselves together between the book and the bank. Followed by our top revenue sources for the month of March: general property taxes, state allocations, local fees, permits, and municipal court fines. My desire is to provide that information so that you know where the money is coming from on a monthly basis. Then followed by the top expenditures. Payroll is always the top expenditure in anyone's budget, and this is how that rolls down. Legal services was another high expenditure in the month of March. From a budget outlook, there's been a book net change of about $155, and that gets us to our final book balance. Per our analysis, we maintain a healthy reserve, continue monitoring our fund transfer and adjustments. There have been some ordinances and appropriations that have been approved that have not made it into the books yet. They will be for the month of April, and just we want to pay attention to any capital fund things that we're going to be doing. So as we go into our budget time, yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Do we have any of these documents? I don't see them.
I did not. I didn't add. I didn't know whether or not this was going to be presented or not, so I sent that to Ms. Duke, but I will definitely share them. This was like my pretty way of giving you this.
Yeah.
This is the pretty of the detail.
This is just our
This
presentation.
is the summary of the
breakdown
detail.
Of this, so.
I'm just saying, I can't get those into the minutes.
You can't.
without-
Okay.
I'm trying to put minutes together. and
Yes, ma'am.
I just,
Not a problem. I will provide that.
thank you so much.
Yeah. This is like
Okay.
again. This is definitely the summary of the detail. Yes, ma'am.
I already had started since I knew you were, so you didn't have to. Okay. Go ahead.
And again, so just a visual representation of the numbers of where our revenues for the month of March and our expenditures for the month of March. And that concludes my report.
All right. So I'm going to follow Mr. Wilson's model and go around. Give me just a moment before you disconnect everything. So just in case anybody someone may want to go back and they may have a question about what they saw on the screen, because we went through it rather very quickly, which I know we are like time. So I'm going to go with Ms. Zorb. Do you have any questions about the presentation? I had to break it down a little more from what we normally do when we have it, and then we have someone just explain it. So I felt like her presentation is well put out, written, and it broke down everything so you could see it in charts.
And I appreciate that, but I certainly can't consume all of those numbers that quickly. So
No, it
I
will
don't-
be,
I don't have any questions because I couldn't really see what was
Right.
being presented. So and we don't have it, like I was saying.
You don't have the presentation, but you should have the documents that
Yes.
support the presentation. The presentation is an extrapolation of the documents that you have. So what you have is the proof.
I only need one.
And you have them via email. What you have,
No, we don't.
I didn't send out the documents in the, well, yes, I didn't send out the documents in the email. I had those issues. So when we met later, I didn't get a chance to
well,
reattach.
you do have, does anybody else need these two? There are two more attachments, but they are just the proof. I mean, I can send those out to you additionally. But this is, the MDT Book Bank, record for 2025, the report for year 2025. The number at the bottom, the adjusted book balance, that is, these reports that you have here, that's directly out of our finance software. And so I keep saying this every month, and I don't want to be facetious about it. What council members should be looking for is, this is the bank statement, how much actual dollars that we have. So the bank statement represents what we actually have in the bank. These represent, because when the state comes through, they're making sure that we have two things, that our bank statements match what our books say. And so that's what you need to see every single month in a general form of our reporting to council. do the bank statements match what we're putting? The reason why it's important is because what we're putting in Finance Authority and these reports that are being pulled, that is what somebody is hand keying in. Sometimes that comes by way of expenses, sometimes that comes by way of revenue. So it is our responsibility to input the information that we have into Finance Authority. Some things are automatically given, like payroll is not automatic because it changes from week to week. So we are now putting that in, but we're trying to fix that it'll come in from our payroll software into Finance Authority. Things that are ACHs and things of that nature. For example, when the police department puts in a requisition, then that requisition is automatically put into Finance Authority. It comes over to the finance department. It goes through its approval process, and you are looking at real live entries of how they start right from the police department. That's what you're looking for in the actual reports. Now, it takes a lot of ingenuity to make sure that those reports match this. And so what I'm saying is there's no way anyone can go in and floss that every single month. That would be a huge undertaking. Some of that stuff has to happen automatically. So one thing you're looking at is the finance software and the entries that are loaded there versus the account. And so, no, you are not going to be able to see those accounts individually broken down, because on a larger scale, on a monthly basis, council needs to be making sure that our monthly balance in our account matches what our finance. That is what the state looks for. That is what you all should be looking for. If you want further breakdown in the accounts, those need to be requested on a more individual basis, because that's not what everyone needs every single month.
So let me just say that Ms. Stevens Knott has made tremendous headway. We've had a few meetings in order to prepare this report, and I don't think she's even been here 30 days.
She hasn't.
Is it even 2 weeks?
It's about 3.
So you will get these documents electronically, but we just wanted to give some grace and give some headway, because some things are going to take time to understand what council is asking for, what she needs to present every month. So we've been going over that. We've been going over Ohio checkbook. There's a lot of things we've been, like I said, several meetings with just me and her in the last couple of weeks, just making sure things are getting in transition, transferred over, and we continue our consistency of what our reporting is.
So what I would ask Ms. Stevens to do is, can you put that in presentation mode so that it can be bigger?
Yep.
And then slowly go through what you have? Because when I look at that, based on what you do have in front of you, it should actually present very clearly. So I just want to make sure that you're getting what she's actually presenting. She did a really good job of making it plain and clear, and I don't want you all to miss that in her presentation.
Madam Chair.
I think Ms. Zorb was first. Yes, ma'am.
So Ms. Dukestein, I feel like you always tell us what we should look at, and I feel like we all have brains of our own and we can determine what we want to look at, which I guess is kind of why Ms. Underwood says she wants to have access to the system. But besides that, I have repeatedly asked for a fund balance report.
And Miss Andrew, okay, so 2 things.
But you're telling me that I should look at this. I genuinely don't, the state might care, but I genuinely don't care what's sitting at Fifth Third.
I understand.
Because that doesn't tell me anything.
So the reason that I keep defaulting back to that isn't to kind of push you in a different direction. The council meetings, we are required to report to you a certain amount of things. And this is what the state requires that we give council on a monthly basis. Now, if you're wanting something outside of that, you're entitled to the transparency, but I'm asking that you ask for that in an email format. And if I remember correctly, Ms. Anderson, when she was here, provided to you that fund thing. I was on the email. I can forward it to you again.
I'm sure she did, but just like being reported, the numbers change. So I'm quite certain money has been spent out of the fire levy, and money has been spent out of the police levy, and money's been spent out of the street levy. So I guess I'm looking for that fund balance report every
So are
month.
you asking that? But that's
Yeah,
not
that's not
something
on
that we need to present here because the state has a specific designation of what we are to report to council.
This isn't a state committee meeting. This is a council's committee.
But this
It's sort-
committee meeting is lawful by what, the reason we have these committee meetings
Why
is
was
based
video?
on the lawful distinction that we have to have them, and in them, certain things need to happen. And this is one of them.
We already have a packed agenda. Are you requesting to add something to the agenda for monthly basis reporting? Then we can look at that, but
So I guess what I'm saying is, if you would like to have the line item, which was provided, and you have additional questions, you can bring those questions and open those up for new business. You can, we've been providing them to you as you've asked.
that's why I haven't been putting them there, because they said they gave it to you. There was any other mention from it, so I assumed you had the
I was
information you
unaware
needed.
that I had to ask for it every single solitary month, so I guess
Well,
that's
if
what I will
that's,
do.
no, the distinction is not that you have
We
to
didn't
ask
make the
for it.
distinction that we were going to add it to our monthly meetings, because
The
I
re-
didn't think anyone wanted
The
to.
request came via email, so it was satisfied via email. When you asked, it was given via email, so I had her respond via email. If you would like that same report every month, I don't have any problems. Miss Stevens,
I don't think we have we
let
would
me
have to
finish,
extend
please.
Budget and Finance Committee meetings if we're going to add items to it.
So what I'm
The
saying
document
is,
sent to us.
I'm going to.
But I get that, but that document is going to need to be discussed, it's going to be needed explained, it's going to need some time for debate or discussion, interpretation. Now, if we as a council would take it back to vote to extend Budget and Finance, then we can do that, and then we can add that to the agenda.
Madam Chair.
I'd just like to point
Yes,
out that
Mr.
every
Wilson.
committee tonight is run over.
And that's a problem.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Wilson.
So I would like to point out the fact that Ms. Underwood had already put this to the committees as far as extending the committee meetings. She did bring it up previously as far as moving them back to an hour. But with that being said, Ms. Zorb, are you stating that you would like the financial report to detail what the levies, what has been spent with the levies money?
Yes.
So that's the report that you're asking. You just want the report to be able to state to us, hey, fire department bought this, this, and this out of their levy money.
I don't really even need that detail. It's just the police levy, we spent $2,000 out of the police levy.
Okay, I'm just saying, I'm just trying to get an understanding of what it is that you're trying
What
to.
the fund balance for
So-
every
Okay.
fund.
I think
Okay,
that
then.
could be a quarterly update. I don't think that's something monthly we need to go into deep detail about.
So if we're talking, I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Dukesty.
If we're talking about provisions, we did agree at the beginning of the year multiple times that this was the report that we would be provided for monthly, and then on a quarterly base, along with cleanup, kind of a quarterly cleanup, to make sure that those fund balances were running. That's when we would report that on a quarterly basis.
Correct me
So-
if I'm wrong. Do we have that, we were going to do that next month?
We already did it when we did the appropriations.
Okay, that's right.
And so-
That was part of that.
Ms. Zorb specifically is asking for fund balances. Every time that she's asked, those have been provided. I now understand that she wants those on a monthly basis. I will make sure that she gets them on a monthly basis without being asked. But as it pertains to this particular review in Budget and Finance, and this is where I would go back to defaulting. There's a reason why the state outlines what should be talked about in Budget and Finance, because we're meeting the expectations. And so I think that there's kind of this, for lack of a better term, just kind of a laser focus on how the fund balances are being spent and monitoring them. There is an opportunity to understand and review that information at the quarterly updates. However, if you're looking for month to month, you want to make sure as council members, you don't have this big, you know, I don't know, $500,000 spend. If there is, there needs to be an explanation from the administrative offices of that. The details, if those are things that you want specifically as an individual, I don't have any reason not to provide that. But as it pertains to this, I think the main thing is this, it's almost very similar to budgeting a monthly account. Did we balance the books? And that is what we're responsible for. So I'm just trying to get your thought process and framework in alignment with what the state says you should be looking for, because that's what you're going to be held accountable for when you're asking questions. You're not going to be accountable for those line items. But if you want them, I have no problem providing them. I just want to make sure that you know what you're responsible for. That's the reason why I keep pushing it, looking at it this way. If you want other things, I'm happy to provide those in an email basis.
Madam Chair.
I have Ms. Gaston's first, and then we'll go to Mr. Wilson, and then we're going to move on.
Okay, so I was just going to ask if this presentation is just emailed to us, because I wear glasses and I'm sure this is lovely, but I can't see it. So if it can be emailed so that I can see all the hard work you've put in, I would love that. With that being said, I work in psychology. I am not good with numbers. So I think it is helpful to have a breakdown so someone who is a social science person can understand the mathematics behind all this. And I think that that is all that, if I may speak on behalf of Councilwoman Underwood and Ms. Zorb, just to have a bigger breakdown so we can see, okay, the reason why we are adding up to 7 million is because of this bucket has this has this, general fund has this, so that it's just clear. Just for transparency, that is what I'm understanding. And it would help me too if I could see that, whether it's monthly or quarterly. I think that makes sense. Because for me, it would be helpful. And that's all.
All right, so if she wants it on month to month, that is something I think we should email personally. Other than that, until we extend our meeting times, I want to continue to doing it quarterly. And then if we can get some time extension approved by council for our committee meetings, then we can revisit that going to monthly. So Ms. Stevens-Knott, can you pull up the Rita for me?
Do you all want to move past this document though?
Yes,
'Cause I feel
ma'am.
like they weren't understanding this document.
Oh, I'm sorry, and I forgot about Mr. Wilson. I'm so sorry. I said we were going to move forward, but go ahead, Mr. Wilson.
So I just wanted to state this to the administration. To be honest, I don't need a no breakdown. I mean, at the end of the day, some of the questions that Ms. Zorb and Ms. Underwood brought up, just pretty much, I mean, like, I think we have access to go and be able to look at them things. Other than that, like I said, I think Ms. Zorb gave a little clarity as far as what it is that she's looking for. I mean, she's talking about, our tax levies. So she's basically just wanting to be able to for us to be able to see what was spent out of our tax levies. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if we got them at a certain amount, and what all did we spend out of that amount that was provided for us inside that tax levy? Like I said, she was being clear about that. So other than that, I mean, if you guys want to pass that out, y'all can send that through email. Other than that, I don't think we should make this any harder than what it is.
Were we done with March monthly update, Ms. Stevens-Knott? Were we done with March's update?
Yeah, I think you did you not make the request for the Rita letter?
Yes,
or
ma'am.
Or was
Yes,
that
ma'am.
provided already?
Yep, I forgot. Yep.
Okay.
That
Do
was
you have
next
it
on the
in your packet?
I do not.
Okay, let me pull it
Let me
up.
send that
Okay.
and print that.
You can just pull it up.
Yeah, all we're gonna do is
I
we're
gotta
gonna look
find
at
it.
it.
Hold on.
You want me to send it back to you?
It's I just have to go and through
All
my
right,
sets.
Council, I have to go. I have an emergency. So,
You're excused, Mr. Wilson.
thank you.
You got my information? Yeah, I got it.
So while she's pulling that up, Ms. Dukestein,
The
moved-
fire levy?
Yes, ma'am, please give that update.
Okay, so I'll give you, we didn't have this on here, the 2025 fire levy, also the 2025 street levy. We sent both of those two pieces of legislations down. It is our an assessment of necessity. I got an email back from Hamilton County that we did everything right. There's a lot of legwork that goes into that. I kind of wanted to discuss when we were in the council meeting, us talking about the pieces of legislation that come to committee versus ones that do not, in comparison to what we have done. So I did take the liberty to go back and look back. Those pieces of legislation, those first initial pieces, they have not gone to committee in the past. So what I wanted to make sure that is it now your request that we, before we get any assessments, and we're just saying, hey, this is our intention to put the levy on there? We mentioned that, we talked about it in committee, and then we put the legislation over to council floor. So the street levy, unless it would not be council's prerogative or intention to put the street levy up for renewal in 2025, that's typically what we would do. That's what that first initial piece of legislation is, just notifying the county that we plan to renew our levies. Do you all want to see those things in council? We have not done that in the past, in the history of it, but there was seeming to be some concern that it had not come to committee. So I wanted to double check so that I know going forward what your expectations are.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Zort?
So I guess I'm confused. The fire levy's on the agenda, but you're talking about the street levy?
I'm talking about both. The intention,
Yes.
the two pieces of legislation that we just passed as it pertains to the fire levy and the street levy are the same. They the legislation expresses the city of North College Hill's
I understand all that.
intent.
I just wanted the clarity between which levy we were talking about, because only one was on the agenda. But the reason I mentioned it in the council meeting, not in this meeting, was because there's a process, and the process was not followed, and that's where my concern was.
And that's what I'm responding to. So when I looked back at prior years, prior city administrators, and I went back and watched all the meetings, and as Budget and Finance Chair for over a number of years, when we renewed those initial pieces of legislation were never discussed in committee. So there was a different precedent set. I did follow that. When I talked to Hamilton County, that is what they also authenticated, that typically does not go to committee because we are only expressing that we want to renew it on the ballot. So if you have a different expectation for me, I would like to follow that, so I'm getting clarity in this Budget and Finance meeting about how we present legislation.
So my opinion is there's a process, and it shouldn't be different for different pieces of legislation. The process is the process is the process.
So there is also in the council rules where we would actually just put that over onto council floor. So but based on process, based on what we have done in the past, I would not have brought that to you all. Are you changing that, or do you expect something different? Because I want to follow what it is what expectations you have.
I don't think every piece of legislation has a time constraint to wait for committee, depending on, and we've had things come to council, straight to council floor that didn't go through committee before. So she was asking, are we setting the expectation from here on out to have it come to committee first, and then before going to council floor?
So some things are come through institutional knowledge, passed from one person to the next. My only reference point a lot of times is through Mr. Dieters, through the sources of the resources for me. I will call down to the county, get the process, or because I didn't have an overlap with a previous city administrator. I do go back and I look at those meetings. I see and set what the precedences have. So I feel admonished when you say it should be done this way. I have not evaded any process that has been before. So I'm just making sure that I understand what your expectations are so that I'm not admonished on council floor for things that I have followed how we have done it in the past. I want to make sure that council is happy and satisfied with the process. So if that is what we've done in the past and I'm following that and we are setting a new expectation, I'm okay with that. I just tell me what your expectations are so that I can do it.
Thoughts?
My thoughts are this isn't a new expectation, that that's what's in the council rules and that's what we should be following. The exceptions come in when the president makes an exception and he makes that judgment on a case-by-case basis.
So are you saying from now on, it needs to go from Dieters to the president of council and then to council floor if it doesn't go to
Nothing
committee?
should be on the agenda that is not gone through the president.
And so
Right.
maybe the reason why, and maybe there was a slight misunderstanding with this particular one, I did actually send it over to Mike and Christian Hedger. In Mr. Graver's absence, Christian Hedger put it on the agenda. But I did actually go through the process of sending it through Mr. Graver.
So-
There haven't been any other examples where I have not done that.
My suggestion
I
would
always
be,
go to Mr. Graver.
my suggestion will be,
So I guess what
Since-
I'm saying is, again, I feel like I did follow process.
yeah, I think what she's saying is fair. We should continue to go to president of council, let them make that distinction. God, my God, my medicine's wearing off. And then he could put that on the agenda. But I think in this instance that we're speaking about, Mr. Graver was out, Mr. Hedger was the stand-in, and he added it to the agenda. Is that my clarity of the situation?
That is correct, but what
So-
I can make sure that a circumstance does not happen like that again. If I honestly didn't see a problem with it, but with Mr. Graver not being here and Mr. Hedger putting it on, I felt like I had gone through the process because both of them were on the email, and that's typically what I would do. However, I can understand from council's perspective how that may have looked like I tried to push a piece of legislation through that I didn't get appropriate permissions for. So what I can do to curb that is to make sure that when Mr. Graver isn't here, that I just put it on in committee, if that's what you want to do or how you want to
Madam
handle
Chair.
it.
Hold on. I feel like process was followed. You reached out to the appropriate personnel to put it on the agenda. It was put on the agenda. We can't stronghold our city with everything waiting for a once-a-month meeting in order to get things done. Because things, like we said, are time constrained and need to get done quicker, sooner rather than later. Ms. Gastons. And then
This
we're
is
going to move.
Just really small, really quick. I just want to just state that there are people who watch and they are nitpicking. And if anything seems off, you know, so I just want to be careful.
So that's why I'm asking, because I want to make sure that I have done everything I can to exhaust the process.
So it was added.
kind of put out there that the process wasn't followed, and
That's not the case.
I'm putting it out there to say, actually, the process was followed. There was a glitch because Mr. Graver was out on vacation. So we don't have anything in our
Charter.
charter that identifies or count your council rules that identifies how to navigate that. So please help me to help this process be more effective and efficient in those instances.
I think we're spending way too much time on this. I think going to the council president or Mr. Hedger and getting it on the agenda was fine. We can't wait for, like I said before, we can't wait till a once a month meeting all the time waiting for something. And then if council meeting doesn't agree, they can table it and kick it back to committee if that's a need. But let's move on to the next
So
agenda.
the other part of that fire levy and street levy that I wanted to clearly indicate is from those two pieces of legislation being passed by council at large, the next part of the process is that I send those two pieces of legislation down to our Hamilton County representatives, and they evaluate both the legislation to make sure that it has the appropriate wording and the number of votes to move that forward. From there, they will do the calculations, and the calculations will be added to the next phase of the two pieces of legislation, one pertaining to street, the other pertaining to fire. And then when we vote for that, then I'll hand all of that over to the Board of Elections to get this on the levy. So I just am kind of explaining the process. We're in it, we're doing it, we're right on task, and everything we have done up until this part has been what we need to do to move this forward.
So we're just
I'm
waiting
giving
for-
an update. We're waiting for the numbers.
We're just
back
waiting for
from
the
Hamilton
numbers
County.
update. So that's where we are with the fire levy. We're waiting, we sent it to Hamilton County. They're reviewing the process, and we're waiting for the numbers update. Thank you. And they're reviewing that for the street levy too. So we can amend the agenda saying we talked about the fire and the street levy. She gave us an update. They're moved down to Hamilton County. We're waiting for the numbers in order to move forward. All right, what is next?
Hang on, Madam Chair.
Yes.
So I heard Ms. Dukestein run down the criteria of what's going to happen next, but I didn't hear her say that she's coming back to council with those calculations.
She said. when
Yes,
she-
I will
yeah.
bring those
Okay.
two pieces of legislation with the updated numbers through the Budget and Finance meeting.
I'm gonna move on to Ms. Stevens-Knight. She's been standing up there for so long. Thank you.
No problem.
Oh, this is, you want to explain or you want me to?
I-
Nope, go ahead. You up there.
So of course, we all know that Rita handles our tax collection. This is a requirement if we want to be a part of their subpoena program authorization. As a part of our initial agreement, if we have non-filers in the city, they immediately get a letter that is a part of our agreement. If we would like for Rita to send non-filers another letter, a subpoena for courts, that comes with a cost. And so Rita is asking, which I agree, that we allow them to take the $1 out of our collections for every subpoena that they send for non-filers. I'm real big about non-filers, so whatever we have to do to get all of our dollars, interest and fines should pay for that dollar that we would pay for subpoenas. And so this has to go through our council. On page 2, let me see if it acts right. Yep. Right down here, it says, I hereby represent a warrant to Rita that the undersigned has full authority on the behalf of the aforesaid municipality, blah, 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 and it has been legally and properly authorized by the aforesaid municipality by the ordinance, resolution number, or by motion. This has a time constraint of June 1. So my desire is do whatever we got to do to get it signed and turned in.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Dukestein.
So I did, Ms. Stevens Knott did share this with me. We had a brief conversation, but afterwards I had some further thoughts in reading it on my own. Ms. Stevens, do they provide us with a list? I'm sorry, Ms. Stevens Knott. Do they provide us with a list of the non-filers, and is that something that we can do internally?
They will provide us with a list. They do provide us with a list of all letters that they send out to non-filers. And so then the next question is, can we send our own subpoenas to the non-filers? Is that the question?
Yes, because based on that clause that you have up there on the second page, that makes it lawful for us to be able to enforce it.
Correct. I mean, we could. I don't know that $1, we could do it at a cheaper cost than $1.
Fair.
But I mean, technically, we can file our own subpoenas, but human capital and time has value.
Absolutely. So then that just becomes council's decision as to which way they want to go with this. But
Yeah.
this would be something that we have not utilized in the past. This is I don't know that it's a new offering, but no pair administrator or finance person has ever brought this to council to consider.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Lord.
I have two questions. I'm sorry, I didn't catch, you said $1 out of where's it coming again?
So when we get our dollars from Rita, when they send our the taxes that they have collected, they would deduct $1 for every subpoena on a monthly basis.
Oh, okay.
So if they send out 10, it would be, I'm being aggressive, $1 million minus 10. But, you know. I know. Yeah, so, yeah, for a dollar.
What's,
I'm sorry, I did have to.
oh, it was about the price of it. So, because Ms. Dukestein had said we could do it on our own. So do we know the price if we do it on our own versus, because I'm just thinking if that's $1 and that's cheap, but you said it was cheaper to do it on our own.
I said I don't know that
I don't know if she said it was cheaper. She was just questioning if we could do it on our own.
Okay.
Technically, we can always file our own subpoenas. I mean, Donna is dealing with previous non-tax filers that are on her docket whenever they have court. The question is, can we do it cheaper than $1?
yes, and
So-
I can come back with those numbers. And by Donna, do you mean
Is it Donna?
mm-mm,
Mayor's Court. What's her name?
Diane?
Diane. I done renamed the lady. I apologize.
And
okay,
so-
Beautiful. I
and
apologize, ma'am.
she's referring to Miss Toll.
Yeah.
What I would say is probably our biggest issue, whether we go through Rita or we do it as a city, is our docket. And we were talking about this, Cheney and I, earlier today, is already 2 days deep because they are not prepared for the amount of court costs. So what they do they reduce the court costs when they get there. So for example, if someone's fined $150 for something, when they go to court, they are fining them maybe $75 plus $25 court costs, so the fine is reduced. So it has to be a conversation. So if we're trying, so the court has the autonomy to kind of do that. So we would have to have some conversations with our mayor's court to encourage that we collect fully on these, because that's the purpose is that. So this came to us. I want you guys to make a
And
decision
it's by
about it.
June 1, you said?
Yes.
So, okay, hold on, let me get Mary Jo's second question, and then I'll give my thoughts on that.
So I was on council when we first converted to Rita, and I felt like we were doing this. So this is confusing to me that we're not doing this.
So I think they send out a notice.
Every year.
Yes, but this is us
So this has
taking
to be
action
renewed
on our
every year.
notices.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yes.
And would they be taking action on the notice in order to collect?
No, the notice this notice is not about collection.
Oh,
This notice is about subpoenas to people who don't file, who don't respond to the first letter.
okay.
So every
Gotcha.
non-filer gets a letter, the first one. If they do not respond to the first letter, this would be the second wave of engagement.
Gotcha.
So we've always sent the first letter. That's a part of our contract. This second letter is the part that we've not participated in. And it's something that has to be renewed every year.
So
Oh, that's missing. Thank you.
my follow-up for Ms. Dukestein then would be, what's them versus us doing it, what's the pros and cons of that? Can you, if you don't have that answer now?
I don't.
Then you
It
can-
takes more than just us calculating. We have to calculate this internally. We have to talk to mayor's court because there has to be some asks on their part. I'm not exaggerating, and Chief Cheney can verify. Like, we do have some consistent issues. I won't say issues, but the way that they approach some of their problem solving over in mayor's court is they reduce the fines.
So if
And
we
so-
don't make their June 1st deadline, because it seems
We
like
will
it
make
needs
the
to be.
June 1st deadline, but I don't know if you prefer that we call another meeting and just do a working session meeting. And that's something that Bill more recently suggested that we do,
Yes.
is to do a working session meeting instead of calling an official council meeting, or if you will allow me to communicate with you all via email as I uncover and figure out what has to happen on the back end. Because the primary goal is to recover the funds,
Right.
especially from those that are not filing. The problem is, if we outsource that different ways, will we actually collect if we're paying $1? I know that's super cheap, but if we're not getting the resources from it,
That's $1 times.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. So council, committee, my question to you guys, how would you like to proceed on receiving the pros and cons and updated information from administration? Would we like to call a special meeting? Would we like an email?
Madam Chair.
I'm gonna go in line, just
Oh.
so I could, just for my own organization.
I have a question first. So does that document say that it comes to North College Hills Court, or does it go to a Hamilton County Court?
It doesn't actually speak to it. I can get those details.
Okay, because that might be part of the,
You're
Yeah,
right.
that's
You're
fine.
absolutely right.
and I am 1,000,000% behind this.
Okay.
So if we need a resolution to have this
So I-
by June 1st, please let me know. Or ordinance. I don't know which one.
It's all of them. It's ordinance, resolution, or motion.
So does that, at the top of that, is that all we need? Like, is that a fully developed document?
Yeah.
No.
Well, this is their
This is
document.
just their letter?
This is their letter.
Okay.
And then we have to supply the supporting documentation to support it.
So it's not
to
like
them.
we couldn't use that as our legislation?
I
I
don't
guess that's where I'm going.
think so. No, I think you have to write our official documents.
Thank you.
All right. You didn't say how you wanted to be communicated, email or special meeting for the update for this.
I don't need an update. I want to go forward with that.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Dukesy.
I think what she said is a very good question. Hamilton County, is it in their court or ours? I would ask that you would at least allow me to follow up with that.
That's why I
And
was
then you
thinking
can
we need more
decipher
further
whether or
follow-up.
not you want to go forward with this, because I think Hamilton County changes the game, because then they take some of the money
That's
of
what I
our
was thinking, the
collection.
follow-up one.
Some of
I
the
wanted the
resources
pros and
go to
cons.
them. If
Got it.
Hamilton County is the person that manages these subpoenas, then we owe them money as well.
That's why I
Madam-
wanted the update of the pros and cons. So like,
Right.
what's the pro for us doing it versus what's theirs? What's the amount of money they're gonna take? Who's responding? Where's it returned to? So I think we still have some questions before we say, yes, we know we want to do it. But I think the question is now, how do we want to proceed?
Madam
Miss-
Chair.
Hold on, Mr. Wilson. I got Ms. Gaston's next and then you.
Okay, I'm behind it as well, and I would like an email update.
Email. You don't want to do an extra meeting on a Saturday morning at 7 a.m.?
No.
Okay. Mr. Wilson.
So you can send me an email, but I'm pretty sure. I mean, I ain't no lawyer, but I think it works just like it works in criminality, in the criminal cases too. As far as these hearings will be held by North College Hill Mayor's Court, and if there's any objection to the rulings out of that court, I believe that there's a chance for it to go down to Hamilton County. But I believe that it should be heard in our because we are a municipality. We have our own court.
Make sure you're in the mic, sir.
Well, we have a municipality. We have our own court. So I believe it will be heard in our court, first.
Okay. So then I'll have Ms. Dukestein give us all an update via email on this. Do you think you could have an email update on this by the end of this week?
I'm going to try to get that done tomorrow.
I was like, tomorrow.
Okay. I was just saying so that we can get it on the agenda for Monday's council so we can move forward and have a vote on that. Let's see, what's next? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Stevens, and welcome to Budget and Finance Committee meeting. I told you it's going to be a little longer. Thank you for saying and presenting for us. So number 4 on there was going to be the devices for council. Ms. Zorb, did you were going to reach out and talk to Tom about that? Did we do that, or should we?
So I had not heard back from him, so I sent him another email today, and he did respond to that. But he didn't really answer the questions. My biggest question to him was, can we just meet on Teams? Can we have the repository of documents on Teams like I do for my real job? And actually, he didn't answer that. So
Okay.
I set up a test today. I don't know if anyone.
I did. I received something. I didn't know what it was.
That was me testing.
Okay. So I
Victor's
think,
looking at me
I don't
side-eye.
think I think we are talking about buying new devices.
Right.
So
But part of buying the new devices was also,
the capabilities of them.
Yeah.
So I feel like we answered that question about doing it on Teams versus, did we, you're shaking your head. It refreshed my memory if we,
Madam Chair,
yes, Ms. Dukestein.
if I could remember correctly, I think Ms. Zorb was saying that based on the way she does it at Children's,
Yes.
they are able to be in a secure space on Teams, and wanted to see if we could emulate that same thing.
Right.
And if we can emulate that, then that would change how we need to purchase a device. So that's
Gotcha.
why it's hinging upon that. I agree that Tom didn't exactly answer, but I will say that he talked to me separately about it. I'll add what he said, but again, I don't know if I have a full answer.
I think we wanted to go forward with devices anyway, because I remember Ms. Underwood, if I'm correct, she doesn't want to give up her work device for anything, and she would rather have a city-issued device for city-related work. So I think we need to look at that again. We'll revisit it again in another time, about which devices we need to do, I guess, after Tom, and then we'll decide what devices would work for us.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Orr.
may I ask who on council do you have a city device? I'm just looking for somebody to test with. You don't have one.
I do not have a city device.
We can
Do you-
I
you're
have one, but
smirking.
it's trash.
Okay,
Mr. Hedger has a city device. You want to test it with him?
are you sure?
He doesn't.
No, Mr.
Oh, he
Hedger does
doesn't?
not.
Oh,
I have one. We can test.
yeah.
Okay, thank
Good.
you.
All right, so we're good on devices. Any old business?
I have old business.
Who said that? You said that. Go
I
ahead.
just wanted to bring up about you know what? I'm going to table it and I'll just send it as an email. Never mind.
Okay. All
Miss-
right.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Dukes.
I wanted to talk about the RWB stuff if people are inclined, but I have
That
to-
old business or new business?
old business.
Okay.
Let me pass out the invoice.
Thank you, Ms. Dukestein.
You didn't give me one.
Oh, I thought it was too dark.
I was like, all right, Ms. Dukestein, the floor is yours.
Okay, so this is the administrative office's stabilization invoice. And so this encompasses all the things that we need to do to stabilize, and the amount down there is at the bottom. And based on the piece of legislation that was passed, I wanted to inquire from council, what's next? What do you want me to do? So I'll let you ask questions and I'll answer.
I'm going to go in order so that we can get everyone's opinion. Ms. Zorb?
I'm astounded by, I didn't know the roof and the windows and we're getting replaced.
In order to stabilize the building, we have to remediate the mold, we have to abate the asbestos. If you don't replace the seals around the windows and the windows itself, because that's where some of the leaking is coming from, if you don't replace the roof, you might as well just tear the building down, because it's not going to be stabilized. Stabilization.
That's an excellent point, because I was of the opinion that decision wasn't made if we were tearing it down or redoing it.
The building, the last piece of legislation says to stabilize the building.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that requires that.
Well, I can tell you that I've talked to a couple people, and that was not what they thought they were voting for. I wasn't at that meeting. There were special meetings, and I wasn't there, so I didn't get a chance to ask the questions during that time. But the word intent keeps getting thrown around, and I don't think that was council's intent when they voted on that. But I'll let the people that were there speak about it.
It is my understanding that at the special meeting we had, it said stabilize the building and bring it up to code.
Bring it up to, this doesn't bring it up to code.
Yes,
This
it
does
does.
not bring, no, it
Yeah.
doesn't. This doesn't bring it up to any kind of ADA code.
The code for,
This doesn't bring it up to any code.
the state code for when you have a building that's abandoned in order, we can't enforce code enforcement on abandoned buildings in our city, and we as a city own an abandoned building and don't enforce the code on it. So this is the legislation that said that we need to stabilize and bring the building up to code.
Madam Chair.
Well, wait, we were going in order, so Ms. Zorp, are you?
I will tell you that I'm not in favor of this. I don't know.
I
what
get
you're-
that,
I don't know what
but-
you're asking me,
So,
but I'm not in favor of
Madam
spending
Chair,
$743,000.
Ms. Dokesting, you have the floor.
so are we in debate about whether we should stabilize the building?
I don't
or
think
are
we can be in-
debate about the quote? Because if you're asking me why there aren't any other quotes, it's because when we encumbered the money to a particular place, and I explained that when we encumbered the money. So the choices were, if I came in at December the 2nd, the last meeting that we had was December the 16th, where the money was required to be encumbered. You encumbered the money. I explained this multiple times over multiple meetings. And I'm not saying that to be, I'm just trying to say that I've said it before, but I feel like it's not quite understood. So when you encumber the resources, you have to encumber them to a particular place. I chose someone that we have been vetting as that could do the work that was the most inexpensive of the three that had been gotten prior, and that could do it across the scope of work. You asked me multiple times about the remediation of the rehabilitation of the building, the splash pad. They are a contractor could do across multiple scopes of work. So with that being said, that's where we encumbered the $480,000. So if we unencumber that money, we lose it. If you want to give it back, that's fine. That's why I thought we were moving forward to the stabilization of the building. This is what the cost looks like to stabilize the building. If you are, we keep teetering back and forth. Removing abating the asbestos is not stabilizing the building. We would have to abate the asbestos and still tear it down. I thought we were at the point where we wanted to stabilize the building, and that is to continue to stop the building from going further into a blighted condition. And if we do that, we have to stabilize it. What it looks like to stabilize it is removing the hazardous materials and fixing the things in the building that are causing the hazard. And the leaking from the roof and window seals is causing the stymie, moldy conditions in the building. No one can enter it based on that. The asbestos is something that has to be removed based on health requirements. So this is all this encompasses. You see allowance for block wall seal with kilts. Kilts isn't even paint. It's just like the preparation of something on there. If you want to take that off, take that off. That's not necessary.
Actually, the definition of stabilizing a building is all structural.
So that's why I said take that off. This is, other than that, the rest of the stuff is structural. The framework is structural. The windows, the storefront, the aluminum openings, all of those are things that stabilize the structure. It would not be wise for us to remove or abate the asbestos, remediate the mold, but then not fix the roof. If
Yeah, that
you
didn't
fix
make
the
sense.
roof and you don't air the building out and you don't replace the window seals, the water is just going to come back in a different way. Those are all things to stabilize the building.
Who's next?
Can we chew on this? Because again, the new windows, storefront, all that stuff was not what I was under the impression we were doing. Stabilizing the building from when we talked about it was the mold and asbestos and making sure that we can get in there and get things that were needed. Of course, I agree 1,000% that a new roof was going to be needed because, again, it's going to come back. But that's why those questions were asked in the beginning. Like, if we get a new roof, it makes no sense to turn around and say, oh, we're not going to keep the building. Then we're still moving forward to that. And I'm not sure if
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Ms. Things, you can respond to her.
No, I was one making sure that she was finished.
So I would like time to continue to look at this. In January, or I think it was the beginning of February, was asked what that $480,000 was with RWB's name on it. And I was under the impression that we just selected a name so that we can encumber the funds and put it somewhere. We didn't have to go with RWB.
I didn't say that. I did not say that. If you go
Okay.
back and look at that meeting and watch that recording, I never indicated that we wouldn't. I said multiple times that's why I chose a contractor that had the ability to span work across the city in multiple different capacities, because the same person that can remediate a building and to remove asbestos is not necessarily the same person that can build a splash pad. And so that's not true. So first of all, I don't remember there being audience participation. Secondly, I did not only get one. This is the one that we are talking about because this is the way that the money is encumbered, which I did explain in December. I explained it again in January. I explained it again in February. And I explained it again when we were talking about it before. In order to encumber it, I said, if you will remember, these were key words that I said, if you don't want to spend the money that way, that's fine. We will have to give it back. And I gave the premises and the parameters at which we would have to give it back. And that is unencumbering that money. So I said it multiple times. I am at a loss as to what way I can say it to provide absolute transparency and clarity. This is why I chose.
I don't recall being married to RWB in any conversation.
So I got a question, counsel. Is it the contractor itself that you guys have an issue with, or is it the work that we're describing? Because right now, we're just discussing the work that needs to be done.
The work for me, that's a
Okay.
lot. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of.
So when we talked about this, the one thing I will agree with you all on is we did not talk about the full scope of what stabilizing the building was, but that piece of legislation came out. We talked about the initial piece of legislation was kind of the discovery of that. And then it moved to stabilizing the building.
Yep.
This is what it costs to stabilize it. And so there are multiple things that create the problem that we have that lead back to the foundation. And so part of it is the windows and the window seals around the building would need to be replaced, or we're going to get a continued moisture, mold. The other is the asbestos removal. You already know about the roof, that only half of the roof was replaced. And so in order to stabilize the building, we would need to take off of that half roof and replace the entire roof, and then get rid of any spaces where there is moisture so that that doesn't have the potential to grow back or continue to send the buildings in a blighted state. We also talked about if we don't do this, then we have to consider tearing it down. If we don't do this, we would have to, if we sit on not rehabilitating it to a place of stabilization, we're going to have to pay, which would look like a mortgage to the tune of this. I said this multiple times, that we would have to pay a mortgage for the building to cover the insurance that's going to be required to insure a vacant building.
That was another reason why the legislation
The
was
other
initially
the other
introduced.
thing that I suggested in this process when you all were making a decision about where to go is, if you tear this building down, you're going to have to figure out where to put Public Works, because they won't have a home.
Public Works has standalone building.
But all of their plumbing and everything is
Runs
attached
through
to this building.
To the 1500
Everything,
building.
either
Everything.
their bathrooms and everything.
It's through
So
the
if you tear
1500.
this building down, that would alleviate Public Works' building as also.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the prior,
That stuff could be rerun.
but then you're spending, I'm sorry,
I'm
Mr.
just
Wilson, I
waiting
said,
patient.
no, I'm sorry, you're
I'm
right. It
waiting
is your
patient.
turn. It is your turn. Go ahead, sir.
So I'm gonna make this clear to council and everybody sitting out here in the audience. Okay. So when I sat down in June of 2024, I had relived all of these quotes. Had to reach out to these companies, you know what I'm saying, got these folks to come in to get this quote from RWB as a blessing to North College Hill, because some of the other quotes that I had got was a little higher than this. At the end of the day, when it comes down to stabilizing this building, when we passed that legislation, it was under the understanding that we wanted to stabilize the building. Everybody had so much upsay about, you know, the words of renovation. Then you guys went and took that to the side. Y'all put whatever words y'all wanted in there. Y'all represented it, and it still said the same thing when you came to stabilizing that building. In order to make that happen, you're going to have to replace the roof that's damaged. There are windows that's damaged, doors that's damaged. These things are a part of the structure of the building. Therefore, if you only replace the roof and don't replace the windows, then you still have the same problem. You're allowing moisture to get into the building. It's going to put us back where we started at. The whole goal of this is to clean the building up, get it in a usable condition. We cannot do that if we keep pity-patting about what we're willing to spend on our own building. It's ours. This money that we're spending on this is taxpayers' dollars to be invested into their building. It belongs to the city of North College Hill, and therefore, if we spend any dollar, it has to be in the best interest. And in the best interest, it will cause us to stabilize the building. That means we're going to have to replace the windows and the roof to do so.
I just want to say, we're not even at the point where we're discussing what's going in the building.
You're right. We're just worried about stabilizing
Getting it back to stabilization, getting it back to code, getting back to what we need to do in order to move forward. And it was my understanding that council understood when they passed the legislation that we understood what we were doing. You didn't like the language before. You guys took it
Changed it.
and said, this is what we wanted to do. I thought that's what you guys knew. What Ms. Dukestein can explain the difference in the legislation's wording.
I
One minute.
only took my assignment. I didn't actually change the legislation.
Right.
Right.
I'm taking my assignment from the legislation. I reviewed it with Bill. I read it over a few times myself, and I'm moving forward with what I know that piece of legislation says. If you all, with the community, what was it, the community town hall that most of everyone wants to have, in the survey results, it was asking questions about what do you want to see in the building if the building were to stay or the building torn down. But in order to stabilize
Yeah,
the
we gotta
building,
get
this
past
is
this
what would
part
be
before we can
required.
move to that
First,
part.
foremost.
I can't get past that one in order to get to the
Right.
step 3.
Can't even get to
This is step 1. And then we could figure out from the other point of what we want to do
next.
from there. So Ms. Dukestein, what do you need from us with this update from council? Or is this just to make us aware of what's going to happen, what's
This
going on?
was the transparency to where we are. I was hoping to generate this even though these conversations are tough and a lot of accusations come, it's the right thing to talk about it. And just so you're aware, you give me your feedback so that I can get further direction. If you are, the legislation does say to stabilize
That's
the
what it
building, the
says.
right next thing to do is to give me the leverage to actually go into a contract so that I can get these repairs.
Is that the next step?
Yes, that would
So
be the
then
next
now
step.
we need to move that to council floor so that we can vote and move to the next step, to enter in contract. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That was old business. Now, I'm gonna move to new business. Chief Cheney has been patiently waiting. All right, so you wanted to discuss.
I don't even know where to go.
Okay. If you want, we could table to next meeting if you need to, or,
Yeah.
I guess part of my thing was just breaking down with getting back to the tow lot. And then I know some of the questions from before was from like Ms. Duke, or not Ms. Dukestein, sorry, Erica Underwood, on what we would use some of that revenue for. We've come up with a plan for that. Majority of the revenue that we would take, we still have to sit down with Ms. Dukestein and come up with a plan on, okay, what's it look like for us to, I understand we're 54% of the budget. I get that every day. But collecting this money will help or alleviate some of that funds that we need to pull from the general fund. It is an increase of what I'm asking for, but it also goes back to the public safety piece of adding more cameras, or flock cameras that capture cars coming in. We currently don't capture cars going out, so if there's a crime that commit inside the city, we have to catch them coming in and try to get that. Now we'll be able to capture them coming out if we approve this. One of the projects the mayor also asked me to look at is gunshot detection stuff with all the gun violence we have, unfortunately, in our town. She asked me to look at that, so I got that proposal too.
what's gunshot protection? Are you talking like
So,
spot shot?
yeah, it's a shot spotter from
Shot
Flock.
spotter. I
So
thought
this will
did
all,
Kroger have one?
huh?
Does Kroger still have that one in their parking lot?
No, that's just a camera system from them that they don't even have access to.
Okay.
It's outside contract that just kind of monitors their parking lot. So this shot spotter from Flock ties into our Flock system. So what it would do is our officers all have it on their phones, the Flock cameras that's active live. So when they're driving around, they get notified of a stolen car or a car with warrants, whatever, when it hits one of our cameras. If the shot spotter goes off, it would notify us instantly. They can go to that area before any phone calls were even made. It's just one of the projects the mayor asked me to look at. So
So I have a question about
Yep.
the shot spotter. I haven't found out which neighbor this is, but I randomly have a neighbor that I know they're like discharging their firearm, but I can't tell exactly. So in that instance, would it increase your calls for your officers if there's like someone doing it and then you guys can't even, pinpoint exactly
yeah.
where it's coming from?
So this, I can't get the map. I was going to print the map, but they sent it to me, but I can't get it in the format to print it to show you guys. So majority of our calls for shots fired are in our southwest district. So I put,
Okay.
you have to do like a quarter of a mile block. So I put the first one around the bar, and then just did a quarter mile block around the neighborhood there. So they have like 7 different shot spotters, and then each one, so it circles out. So it would go all the way from that quarter mile block. It would cover Trojan Way School. It would cover part of Hamilton Avenue, so like where Ms. Zorb lives, that area would kind of fall under that circle umbrella.
Right.
Now, obviously, it's
Range,
just that
radius of that.
section of town. To cover where you live, obviously, we'd have to put a system where you live.
Don't worry about it.
But it's just kind of a start. It's what the mayor asked, so that's what I proposed to them. We came up with the area. We looked at our call for service and what area had the most
So, do you?
Shots fired calls or shootings or homicides, unfortunately, Southwest is,
You wanna rent some space in my backyard?
Going to say,
Yeah.
do you want to come back with more of an update after you guys meet?
so
and
really it's
discuss?
just about coming to an agreement with the city
Right.
and what we did. So we've redone the tow lot fees. I don't know if everybody saw that on our Facebook page. We rescheduled everything. Our administrative assistant has been phenomenal. I told Miss Dukestein the other day, one of the best hires we've made. She has, in the 4 weeks she's been here, is phenomenal. So good. As a matter of fact, we are actually in November going to send her to analyst school, and then she's probably going to partner with the sheriff's office and do like a week or two training with them.
Nice.
So she will actually be doing like online analyst stuff too,
Oh, wow.
to help our detectives with crime prevention and solving crime. So she's was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'm all so.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Chief Cheney did send this out. I got it the same time you got it. We have been in conversations about what this looks like, and I told him in his one-on-one if there's complete transparency. So his job is to take care of the police department. Her job and our job together is to take care of the city. And so we have to come to what that looks like. At this moment, the police department is leaning 54% on the city's budget. We have to find a way forward if we're increasing headcount. We got to figure out a way to reduce that. The toll lot may be an opportunity, but we have to make sure that we're healthy financially. With no city, there is no police department. With no police department, we got issues in our city as well.
Absolutely.
So I think he wanted to kind of get it out there, but we still have to have more information-led conversations on hardcore numbers.
Right.
And
that's why I was thinking that when you guys get those numbers and then bring it back to budget and
Yes.
finance, and then we can mull
So
over.
I think it was fitting, which is why I told
Yeah.
you to pause on your thing, but it was fine to kind of have those conversations with the safety, because if we're focusing solely on safety, then let's bring all the good aspects forward. But financially, are we at the space where we can handle the forward costs? Because just like they have growing needs, so does the fire department. I mean, we are still trying to advertise a levy that we need to pass this year for our fire department. So, there are just definitely things that we need to consider across the whole city to make sure that we're healthy moving forward. Our goal, my mutual goal with Chief Cheney, is to make sure that the police department is healthy and the city is healthy.
Absolutely.
So I believe with our new structure and the way we're doing things with the tow lot and coming to agreement on getting the money, my understanding, I could be wrong, my understanding from prior financial people that the money that the tow lot has collected the last 2 years has not been spent. So one of the reasons,
That's not true.
I don't know if it's true or not, I'm just, what was relayed to me.
So you guys, are you asking us that question, or are you asking?
No,
I don't
I'll
know.
answer it.
Yeah,
Because I think I've answered it
I think this
before.
question has been raised
Yeah,
before.
I
Can
have
we-
answered it multiple times. So it's one of those scenarios where the money comes in and where it goes out is two different spaces. So it could appear that it's just sitting when it's not.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Wilson.
So just again, my opinion when it comes to giving the toll lot over to the police department is it will be a great interest to do so as long as you guys could come off the general fund budget. I mean, you guys say y'all at 54%. If y'all were to get that, would that bring you guys down off of that budget, off the city budget?
I mean, currently, we take no money from the tow lot. I don't know where it goes, so I can't answer that portion. I could tell you, like the flock cameras we have currently,
Can you answer?
is 15,000 a year that is pulled from the general fund. The proposal to add everything that we are looking to add to expand the system, at the end of the year, every year, the budget, or that would be 46,000 or 48,000. So my point would be that we would just use all the funds to pay for all that, and then we don't have to worry about pulling any of that for the general fund.
So you're saying you're not going to completely come off the general fund? It was just alleviate some
Yes,
expenses?
I mean, because the tow lot
But
would never pay
if
for our
it-
general fund. It's not even close.
I know that. I know that. I was just saying it for reference
what
for
we would be-
everyone's understanding.
What will we be aiming for is a
Reduction,
reduction
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
to the police's spending on the general fund. in lieu
But I
of-
don't know how, I mean, 15,000, I don't know if that's.
I know that was just, but
I mean,
so,
So
to
I
answer
do-
Mr.
so, like, part
Wilson's
of what
question, to
I've
answer his
been-
question, no, they would not.
It would not, but part of what
so
our thing is, what we're looking at is the police department is, we applied for the ARPA grant. And we got almost $1 million. It was 900 and some $1,000 that we, on our own, applied for and were approved for. That for the last 3 years, it has paid for 4 police officers. The city has not had to pay for because that ARPA funds paid for those officers.
Madam Chair.
Hold on, I think, did
I'll-
one of you
go ahead, no,
ladies
you
have
can
a,
go.
okay. Ms. Stevenson, did you have any?
Well, I think it's important to acknowledge that, yes, the ARPA grant took care of, but that now the ARPA grant is gone.
So-
And so those 4 police officers now have to, if we don't get another grant, they have to come,
Out the general fund.
which means the percentage technically,
Goes up.
so.
And that's the numbers that she and I have been kind of talking about. So I get, and I don't want to, kind of push this conversation more than what we have to. We have to make sure everyone is healthy. I want the police department to get the head count that is needed to keep our community safe, but not at the expense of them leaning on our budget at like 64% or even higher. We're already at a very exhaustive number. And so I do believe that there is a way forward to give them more and for them to also come down. But we have to kind of talk about those numbers and negotiate that with them, which is what our coming talks will be. But we have to, Ms. Stevenson's has to get acclimated
Yeah,
enough
I
for
was
us
gonna
to,
say that.
her first priorities were to catch up on some things that were kind of belabored. Like, for example, one of the things that she had to do coming in is making sure that we are updating Ohio checkbook. It was updated to a certain extent, but then it needed further updates. There is software and training that she needs in order to even get into Finance Authority the way she needs to be able to look and evaluate. That is my job to forecast and to evaluate, and along with her,
So when she
finance-
gets
yes,
up to speed,
so that's
you 3 are going to work together.
Yes, we will.
And then
we are
revisit us.
committed to working together to come to the right outcome.
And then you guys will be presenting to us
Absolutely.
some updates and some solutions.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, so I just wanted to point out the fact that when it comes to, you guys keep screaming of ARPA grants and things like this. So my knowledge of grants is that, you can continuously filing for them.
But the ARPA grant was,
That one's
the
gone.
ARPA
Yeah, the
grant
ARPA's
is,
gone.
so sometimes they
So,
have
hold
an
on.
expiration date, and that was one of them that did. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah, so I am aware that there are grants out there that have deadlines and dates and stuff like that, some one-time grants and things like that. But when you look into it, a lot of these grants are reoccurring grants. So if you guys file for them this year, they might have a 2-year waiting period before they reissue that grant, but these are reoccurring grants. These grants come back out. So I'm just saying, make sure that we're looking into the opportunities to refile for these same grants that we already applied for and got granted. I mean, them funds are there. Like I said, I'm just with the knowledge that I do have of them. I know that there's opportunities for repeat grants.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Duxton.
So I agree that there are some grants that are categorized in reoccurring. There are other grants that are one and done. There are other grants that are connected to COVID relief funds, which is in the vein of ARPA. Once we see them, we won't see them again.
Right.
So we cannot make permanent decisions based on those type of grants, which is what I gave the example with Mount Healthy. And I don't want to kind of disparage that community because it was the school district, but I've heard that that's kind of where their error was, that they hired people without replacing the income, and then they had those hires, and that depleted their sources and turned their school district in a very disparaging situation. And so again, even with the flock, one of my concerns would be that we get the money, they pay for 75%, and then after that, it is our responsibility to not only cover that other 25%, but that additional 75% for another year, or else we would have to return all the money that we got in the prior years to even supply that person. And so on every end, we're talking about an increase. We have to be healthy in the fire department and the public works department. The other spaces, they all need expansion too. I can tell you that public works needs more people.
Absolutely.
The workload is huge. So when we're talking to the police department, all we're doing is making sure that this is healthy across the board. I wish it weren't a situation where we could freely just say, yes, let's do it. But we're not in that financial position, and we want to keep moving in a healthy space. The answer is definitely not no. It's just that we need to work on it.
Okay. So, all right. In order to move on to next new business item, this is for Chief Cheney too as well. So, the only thing I haven't heard with the Juneteenth festival from you is the crowd safety, crowd control budget. Do you have an estimate of that you can send to me so that I can add that into the line items for finance when we are looking at what it's going to cost us for the Juneteenth festival?
I guess we need to decide what that really looks like. I'll be honest, Juneteenth I'm not worried about. Security-wise, I think we can lock that down because it's in the parking lot. I have a lot of reservations about the fall festival just because of everything that's, I just read, I cannot remember where it was at, but it was just, I think it was another country, another vehicle attack on some kind of festival.
I was down.
So for us to get some kind of barriers
Yes, that's where I
on
was
each
going.
end of the road, but then my concern is also,
Can't we just use dump trucks or something?
is this the right place to really hold this festival? Because we have businesses that are still open when we have the festival, and there's traffic coming. So
Close.
we cannot, I can't 100%
Trust that
trust that someone's not going to do something, and that we can secure that road safely 100%.
So are you suggesting we look at moving?
I would suggest we move the fall festival somewhere else.
So we'll table that. We'll add that to the next thing. But also for the
I think
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth is okay. I think we can make,
You sure we're not going to need maybe some extra officers or?
if we need to make it, if council or the committee for that event, I can make it a city paid detail. That's not a problem. I can put that out there, and it would just be paid as an overtime detail for the officers. We can do
You
that.
know where the area is going to be. So
Yes.
looking at that and then looking at the advertisement now that it's going to go out for this, we're planning for an expanded crowd, right? Do you want to revisit that and then see what our needs may be?
Yes.
Or would you just be in the interest of blocking off that area to vehicles? But I'm also thinking crowd control. You want to come back?
Yeah, let's, me and you talk. Come back with that.
I just wanted to put those out there,
Nope,
that
that's
we
fine.
have those.
That's fine.
That was on my list of things, so, for new business. All right, if all minds are clear, we can adjourn at 9:18 if nobody else has anything else. Nope. All right, let's go home.
I do. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
oh,
I
up, up,
I
up,
don't
up.
know what you want.
Oh, he said we can go. He said we can go.
I don't know what you want me to do with the RBI, the WB stuff.
So you said we were gonna send it to council and then we were gonna vote on, is that our next step with that? Are we moving it to council for a vote? Or is that just for us to let us know what's happening?
I need the contract. I need to, I want to ask them for permit, I want to ask.
So
them
do we as a committee need to say, yes, move forward to a contract, or
I
do
would
we go
put
to a
I would get a
council?
contract and then attach that to a piece of legislation with Mr. Dieters and then send it over to council floor.
Well, that's part of what we said, council voted to do, so.
I don't agree with that, just so you know, from the committee perspective.
I mean,
Well, it's not going in committee, it's going in
This is
to,
already committee, we're talking about it now.
Yes.
We're talking about moving legislation to the council floor, and I'm saying I don't agree with it.
well,
Takes a
she's
majority to do
following
it.
up on the legislation that was passed, and she's saying that, just my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, she's saying, hey, this is what we voted as a council, and this is where we are, and this is my next step on that process. Is that my understanding of what's going on?
Yes.
It's not for approval or not, she's just the update.
It is. She's
Madam
saying
Chair.
she's going to have legislation. And the process that we discussed infinitely today, the process is for legislation to be discussed in committee and
This was
approved
the
through
process.
committee.
This
Yes.
is it.
So this is us discussing that legislation, and it has to be approved in committee before it goes to the council floor. I am stating that I do not agree with that legislation to move to council floor.
Madam Chair.
That's what I'm
So I was asking, I think I asked the question, what is the issue? Is the issue the contractor or is it the cost?
My issue is, my opinion is this is not the intent, I'm gonna use that word again, the intent that council, the majority of council passed that legislation.
Madam
I
Chair.
think everybody that was here at that time voted yes to pass that legislation.
You're right, but that's not the intent.
Ma'am, no, we
But
can't
that's
have
not the-
audience.
That's not the intent. I mean, you heard from Ms. Gaston, she didn't know that the roof and the windows were part of that,
And the storefront.
and the storefront.
When you
So-
say storefront, what do you mean by storefront? Do you think that means something that's not a part of the foundation? Storefront
It's
is
their terminology.
storefront,
She's
yeah.
regurgitating.
That's the
their-
type of window I
So
think they're talking about.
Yes, it's just the windows and the doors.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because
the front
doors are
windows
not-
and doors, he just
Yes.
called it storefront, because they're
Yeah, 'cause they're
storefront
big.
design,
Yeah,
windows
the
and
windows
doors.
are big.
That
Okay, but
is a
it's-
storefront
Window.
door and window when you first, that's what they mean by storefront.
Storefront.
Not
That's
saying we're redesigning it to a storefront. It's not even put in there for a redesign. All we're doing is,
Ms. Chichester, I'm sorry. I think that the bigger issue is, because if you're talking about nitpicking at a invoice that doesn't decipher, if you're, Miss Chief Cheney, can you? help
crowd
these
control,
ladies out?
please.
Yes.
Um,
Still trying to get through this meeting.
So if you're referring to the piece of paper that I sent out to you all, that is indicating of what the cost would be to stabilize it. So if you are back yet at a debate because you feel like the stabilization of the building is beyond what you had scoped, we're not questioning the invoice, you are questioning the piece of legislation. So I just want to distinguish that
I
because
think
this
they're
is,
kind of hand in hand.
No,
Why aren't they?
they're not. Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Wilson.
Okay, so it's not hand in hand. Listen, we sat here and agreed on a legislation to do the to determine what it was that we were going to do with 1,500. So a couple of council members had uproar about the wording inside that legislation. So the three council members got together. They changed it to make it comfortable for them, so they felt comfortable as we read and moved forward with it. So once they brought it back, the understanding was that we were giving administration the permission to stabilize the building. That was what was written inside the legislation. legislation. So now that she's done that, now that she did her part and got all the information to do so, to stabilize the building, she has brought this information to us. So this is now the amount that will be spent to stabilize the building. I'm just don't understand where the confusion is at.
Ms. Zorp?
So the word that's being just abused tonight is the word stabilization. I want to bring us back to when we first got Resolution 3, and the word that was abused then was the word intent. So the word intent at that time, so council passed a legislation that said abate mold and asbestos. That was council's intent. Mold and asbestos. The words roof, the words windows, the words doors never came into the conversation. So the intent was to clean up the mold, clean up the asbestos, let the DAV get in there and get their stuff out, let the American Legion people get in there and get their stuff out, and let the Historical Society get their stuff out. That was the intent, as I know it.
That was the previous written legislation.
Well, I
Madam-
think when it was in the space of intent, that was primarily the focus.
Yes.
But then when the wording moved to stabilization, that's a different set of directions. And I would say that if you are negating that, you should only abate the asbestos. The rest of it, you're not really looking to stabilize the building. Stabilization of the building means you can look it up by definition if you feel like that I'm trying to, reconstruct words. But it is important to understand legislation. It is important to understand the path that you're choosing. If you are not going to stabilize the building, you have to begin to look at other things. I don't know what you would do if you tore down a building that Public Works is attached to with no place to live.
And then where would council, I don't understand, we understood the assignment in the beginning. The whole goal is to stabilize our building, plan for extra space in there for whatever the community needs would be, and at the same time, move the DAV, move the Historical Society, move the Women's American Legion in there, and get council back into their home. We cannot continue to utilize the city center. It is not appropriate space for council.
Senior center.
Or, what did I say?
City.
center.
It's okay.
Senior center.
Madam
So-
Chair.
Yes, Mr. Wilson.
Just last thing, like I said, I'm not understanding because I'm getting lost because I've been in all of these meetings. I haven't missed anything, and the conversation came out to where the wording was because everybody had this uproar about the intent to renovate, and that's what it was. The full uproar was the intent to renovate. And now, this legislation came out. At the end of the day, it stated we have to be in compliance with the state of Ohio law.
Yep.
And that law states that we have to stabilize that building in an abandoned condition that it is, then we have to be in compliance with the law.
Not only that, the insurance to pay on that is going to skyrocket if we don't do something soon. And this is the whole reason why we had started this conversation. To avoid having the building just be continue to be a blight in our community, to continue not to operate out of our safe space that we need in order to be a city, and to continue to be just up to code. That was my statement one. But also to avoid having the insurance payment that, and like she said in the last meeting, they've given us tons of grace when it came to the insurance. The insurance on a vacant, abandoned building basically is going to be a mortgage payment.
It'll be, I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Wills, Ms. Dukestein.
It would be almost the equivalent of paying on the loan that it's
Yep.
gonna take to get this
So-
building restored.
Madam Chair.
And so I would also, I want to remind council that there was a DAV gentleman that came up, and I can't
Yep.
remember what he said his background was, but he was able to vehemently speak on the status and the state of the building with an expertise in that particular area. That was an outside person I had never met before, and he had talked about he used the word stabilization and actually defined in that meeting what stabilization
Sure
looked
did.
like. And I'm not going to speak any more past this because we are growing late in the hour, but I do want to say something in a public forum that is relative to this issue. I'm not asking that citizens not respond because I'm a mean and nasty person and I don't want to hear. But when you are talking and I'm trying to just understand my thoughts and get them out to you all, which is the expression that I do owe you all, when you blurt things out, it becomes difficult for me to keep a train of thought. It almost draws my attention over to wanting to respond to that citizen as opposed to answering the questions that are before me.
Ms.
Which is
Dukestein,
why
we set that standard.
Which is why I asked that Chief Cheney come to the meetings to kind of prohibit that. It becomes very, very difficult to maintain your focus when someone is shouting, or not shouting, but putting random things out there that are not, especially when they're not exactly the truth.
I think we set the expectation a long time ago that the disrespect, the outbursts, the dramatics, anything that hinders the progress of a meeting will not be tolerated. This is a city. We have to function as a professional environment.
Madam Chair.
Oh, never mind. Go ahead.
Yes, Ms. Gaston.
I feel like you keep saying the same stuff over and over again. Okay, so I just want to go back because I haven't spoken at all on this topic. So initially, I'm glad you brought it up. The gentleman that came, that was a part of DAV, he did explain what stabilization meant. One thing that I kept hanging on to, because it was said to all of us on council, is this is intent and this is a half step. And so what we wanted to do, which is where it says council will begin the process of working with the mayor and administrator to initiate the exploration of design and financing for the abatement. And so again, we did that. We see that we have the RWB here. That's great. But I think where I'm getting confused is, okay, so we're sitting at the council floor with a contract and we vote on that, and that's where we are right now?
Yes, that would be the natural next step, to ask them to supply us with a contract, to ask Mr. Dieters to incorporate that contract in a piece of legislation. If you're asking the why on RWB, I explain that as it pertains to the encumberment at the beginning of the year. If you want to unencumber that money and go in a different direction, that is totally fine.
But if we do that, we lose $480,000.
We
do.
No.
We know that, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't
can't
encumber it
unencumber
to
it,
somebody
yeah.
else.
You cannot.
You can't.
I will double check it. You cannot. But yes,
You can't.
I was.
Once it's,
We're on a time crunch for all of this.
once you've made a decision
Yeah.
at that time,
They can take it back.
you've made a promise.
Yeah.
And that's not a promise that can be gone back on.
And so this is the thing that I want to just kind of put out there in air, because it kind of feels like you believe that my intent have been directional or dirty in some way. I don't have it. I'm just trying to do what the best thing is for the city. I came into the city December the 2nd. This money was given to us years before I even showed up on the scene.
And I'm confused because we
And I
voted
was
and
just
we
trying
knew
to
what
make
steps we were
sure
taking to
that
stabilize
we were
the building.
keeping the money in a place where we could best utilize it. I apologize to you if you feel like I didn't do a good job in that.
I don't think that's
know
the,
what else
I
you
don't
wanted
think
me
that's
to do,
the
because there was a decision to be made, and a decision to try to keep the resources in the communities for the best use of our city. I think that asking someone to come in and encumber $1 million in a 2-week time frame is, we can look through across the city and figure out what projects are most needed. And this is it. To do something correct with this building, to correct a building that has been damaged, blighted, and worsening conditions for at least 10 years.
Chief Cheney, I knew you had something. Go ahead.
Just, I think I've said this before.
We need to fix the bill.
I have one question. If we do what this contract says, does council, DAV, Historical Society, and this lady and everybody else go back to the building and work?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Simple.
So that solves one problem. Secondly, I don't understand what we're arguing about. If this was your home and your roof was leaking and you had mold growing in your bedroom that was leaking, would you just fix the mold and not fix the roof? I mean, come on. And I get it that it's probably not going to be all the way up to code. Guess what? My building's not up to code. I've been saying that for months, and here we are, 10 years, okay? You guys are all new except for one person on council, and it's not a slight to you, Mary Jo Zorb. You've just been on council for a while. Everybody else has, not even been on council for a year, and we're making progress, and now all of a sudden we're going to stop.
Yep.
I kind of put this to my situation. It's nobody's fault, but here I am,
Right.
14 months into this,
Trying to clean it up.
with no resolution to my situation, and now we're doing the same thing with a building that
Wilson. Stop laughing.
that we own. It just
We're gonna adjourn soon. Hold on. I think I want to apologize to Ms. Dukes thing. If it comes off that we're saying you misled, that is not true at all. That is not the situation. I think maybe we all may not have understood what was voted and passed. And now that we are here, we have to, like he said, continue to move forward as a city. This is really a deal of, what was it, 784? And it gets us back? Why are we stalling? We're not gonna get anything resolved tonight. We can call another special meeting and have some more discussion before we go to council. And I would suggest council, let's do that. And let's adjourn for tonight, and then we can have a discussion at another time.
Madam Chair, I would like to ask one question before we adjourn.
Yes, Ms. Zorb?
So I need to see it in writing from someone official that says we can move back in after this, because I'm not so sure about that. Because
Mr. Wilson.
once you do modifications, you might have to bring it up to code, and this isn't code. So I want to know for sure by someone official in writing that says we can move in after this. Everyone can move in and they're safe. And no bathrooms have to be redone, the floors don't have to be redone, in the gym and all of that.
Oh,
Kitchen, none of
we
that.
don't need the gym. I think we just,
Hang on, but I want to know in writing that nothing else has to be done besides this. You're talking about
that's not
scope.
true.
You're talking about scope. I want to know the scope.
Ms. Zorb,
That's all.
that's
So
not
the-
true. This is just the stabilization of like a phase. This is just the first part of it. All the things you named didn't fall under that scope. Now,
But that's what I'm saying. I want to know
that's
for
a
sure that
that's a
the
phase
truth.
2. This is, we always said this was 3 phases. This is phase 1. What you're describing is phase 2.
Well,
So if you want,
Chief Cheney just asked the question, can we move back in after this? And the answer was yes. I need that in writing. That's all I'm saying. I need that in writing from someone
I'm
who is an official.
clarifying.
Madam Chair,
That's a yes with additional renovations.
Then that's not a
no,
yes.
no,
That-
no,
No.
no,
that's not- that
Madam-
doesn't include the
Madam Chair,
bathroom.
may I speak, please?
I'm sorry, Ms. Dukes, yes.
So I believe that the engineer that assessed and came out. There was a whole bunch of
Right.
crews that came out, HVAC, roofer, all these different areas that needed to assess the entirety of the building. Based on that assessment, these things being up to date or not up to date, but renovated will allow us an inlet. However, as you know, with building projects, things happen. So that's, Miss Stevens was like, is that a fair ask? And I heard what she was saying. Could there be other things that come up?
Absolutely.
I think that that's the nature of construction. For example, when they were abating their asbestos, they abated all of it and then they found that they had more. So this is based on a very thorough assessment of the building. This is where we're at. If there are other things that would be what we would consider latent deposits of the construction process, those are things that we cannot see. No one would be able to see. This right here, what was given to you, was also based upon what Jennifer Eakey retrieved in 2023 from Nibble. I think it was the previous and that
Burgess
their
and Nipple.
their previous assessment, because I can't start from ground zero. I have to use and leverage what other administrators have done in order
Right.
to solve this issue. So I use that as a groundwork to say, hey, these are the things that we went in. They went in 2024 and again in 2025 to further assess. Now, other companies did as well, but this was the one that we gave at the dollar amount at the end of
Full scope.
24 was the most comparable to what we could afford as a city, which is how they were chosen.
Okay.
And so do we have, and I assume we do not have the bottom line dollar.
The bottom line
the three
dollar to
phases.
date, based on what they believe that they see, there was a professional engineer that was actually flown in from DC.
So I don't think you heard the last part for the three
Sorry.
phases. We just have this. And so we're going to get a contract and vote on this and the contract moving forward.
So the additional, anything else beyond this will go through the traditional bidding process and quote and everything else. I don't have any direction from you all
Nope.
as to what you want to do with the building past stabilization.
Thank you.
This was the only reason that this portion of it went this way is because we had that money that we had to deal with. And there was a way that we could fix what was broken.
Yeah. And the phase part one of getting it stabilized and brought up to code.
And so I
But
feel
what's
like there
encumbered
is,
480 and this is 743.
because it,
So where's the rest of that coming from?
the rest of that we could actually afford in cash value,
Yeah.
or we can get a loan.
I would rather save the portion for the loan for the,
Yeah, for something else.
yeah.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Wilson.
I just want to point out the fact that, because everybody want to know if we'll be able to move back into this building, after this stuff is done. As long as the mold is mediated, the asbestos is mediated, and our HVC system, our HVC system is cleaned out, we can use the our side that allows us to be in the building. The whole purpose of us being removed from that building is because the level of the mold has got to the point where it's affecting our system, and that's spreading the mold throughout the building. And so it had to be, we had to be removed. But once this stuff is cleaned up and put in a condition to where a human body can be in there without being attacked, then we all can move back in the
Mr.
building.
Wilson, can you show me on here where it talks about the HVAC and getting cleaned out?
So again, they just got finished telling you that that's what's gonna happen. It's all about the phases. So
No, I can answer that. It doesn't, I can tell you where that, I can call them and ask them, but that was one question that I asked them, because that was a concern that I had. Like, first of all, one of the HVAC system, I asked them if they would need to be replaced or cleaned out, and they're doing a whole cleaning to the HVAC system and an environmental study that
To make sure it's
secures that they will present to us to say, hey, this is ready for us to walk back into.
It's not on here.
It's not on there because I It's not on there. It's probably built in some of these other phases, but I do know that
Do you
and
trust that?
what I will do is to make sure that it is built into the contract. I did not ask them for a contract because I wanted to talk to you all about that, but I will add that on here and make sure that that is spelled out.
So again, when the question was asked if we can move in with this, the answer is not yet. So once you do that,
No, what I
Can
know.
we adjourn and call a special meeting? to
Yeah,
review
let's do
that?
I will call you. That's fine.
That works for me.
I asked when I got this if that was encompassed in this, and it is. Some of these it just says west wing replacement, thermal moisture protection. These things are very vague, and that is built in there. We can spell that out to make sure that you are clear. That's that. The other thing that I would like to just say very quickly is that if the building is brought to stabilization, we could potentially sell it if you don't want to stay there, if the community doesn't
Where
want
we
to
gonna
stay
go?
there. We would have to figure that part out, but as
don't-
it stands, we can't sell that property as is. It would have to be torn down. And then we have the cost of tearing it down and then hope that the land value would reimburse us the ability to pay back what we had to pay for to tear it down. So it's just, when you sell a home, you have to repair certain things for it to appraise at the value that it is. But in the condition that it's in, it just ties our hands at being able to make a prosperous move financially as well.
I think.
So I can, as a result of this, you all can schedule another additional meeting, and I will ask that they define what's in all these different categories so that we can ensure that some of the concerns, especially the HVAC, is in this quote right here, not quote, but this invoice.
And an official letter that
so
states
let's-
we are.
I have the letter already,
So let's do
actually,
this. Let's do what we did
but I will
last
do
time.
that as well.
In order to prepare for the special meeting, let's send our questions in email so that we can prepare, and then we'll read them at the special meeting and answer them at the special meeting. Because we're going to keep going round and round, and it's going to be 10 o'clock very soon. So let's look at our calendars. Let's get this. Let's see what tentative dates that we can possibly schedule, and then we'll send out the notice and to all the other council members and everyone. So is everyone available? I was going to say tomorrow, but that doesn't allow Ms. Dukestein to get clarity of responses.
I think you could do the 26th because that's a Monday where we're not utilizing. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Well, the 27th,
Well, the 27th, we'll have the council meeting on that day because
you're
it's
right.
moved.
Sorry.
Wait a minute.
Why wouldn't we?
That's not true. 'Cause our
Oh, we not
council-
moving it?
We don't have a council meeting on the
First and
27th.
third.
Oh, the
Yes,
first.
the
Oh,
first
that's
and
not the
third.
third. Oh, that's right. It's 4 Mondays in
The
this
week
month.
of the 26th is open unless.
Okay, so let me look at the 27th.
That's a Tuesday.
Yep, that is a Tuesday. So, give me a second, you guys. I got like 3 calendars. Let me check. 27th. I'm good for the 27th. Wilson, you good 27th?
I'm good.
what time?
Let's do 6.
Yeah, I'm about to say, is that the
We
only
do
meeting?
6:30.
You said 6:30?
Mm-hmm.
Why 6:30?
Because
Because I work.
I work too.
You
I'm
asked me
fine with
why, I'm
6:30.
telling you.
Yeah, we're fine with 6:30. 30 minutes. We'll just be here 30 minutes longer.
Trying to get out of here.
So I'm gonna make this a hour-long meeting. So, and we're gonna address all questions in email form. And then that allows us time. All questions need to be to Ms. Dukestein.
So the
By-
questions I've already asked are not valid?
I'm
Those
not
are
saying that.
fine. I'm okay with that.
Yes.
Ms. Zorb asked me to get the letter and to.
Well, other council members who may not
That's
be
fine.
here
I just
may
wanted
have
to let her
other
know that
additional.
she didn't have to send me anything additionally for me
Okay.
to provide that.
So you have yours. Ms. Gaskins may have some. What's a good time frame? Because I need to give you time prior to the meeting in order to connect with the contractors themselves and get responses.
Can we have the questions by Friday? So then I have the
Absolutely.
19th through the 23rd to answer them and be prepared for the meeting on
Considering
the
it's a holiday
27th.
weekend, you might not get a response on the 23rd. So you will have, so everybody and other council members, I'll send everything to Mr. Hedger. All questions need to be in by May 16th. Or did you say 19th?
No, the May
The 16th?
16th for the
Okay.
questions. And then I have 19th through the 23rd to get the questions answered.
Absolutely. That's fair. Third time's a charm? Or is it fourth time? Let's adjourn.
9:49. I'm typing it.